In the shadowed halls of Thorne Manor, Elias Thorne inherits more than a crumbling estate. He inherits a cosmic curse. As the stars align and the portrait of his uncle screams with otherworldly power, Elias is drawn into a battle against Cthar'ul, a watcher from the void that whispers through dreams and demands his soul. Will he silence the cosmic scream and seal the gate, or become the bridge to an endless darkness that could consume the world? Chapter 1. The Forgotten Inheritance. In a small town wrapped in mist and old trees lived a man named Elias Thorne. He was 35 with tired eyes and a quiet life. He worked as a bookkeeper in a dusty office, counting numbers that never seemed to end. His days were simple. Wake up, eat bread and cheese, go to work, come home to his small house with creaky floors. No wife, no kids, just books and silence. But one rainy afternoon, everything changed. A letter came in the mail. It was thick, yellow, paper with a red wax seal. The seal had a strange mark, like a twisted star. Elias opened it with shaking hands. The words inside were from a lawyer he never met. "Dear Mr. Thorne," it said, "I am sorry to tell you of the death of your great-uncle Reginald Thorne. He left you his estate, Thorne Manor, in the hills outside town. You must come at once to claim it." Elias stared at the paper. He had heard stories of Uncle Reginald, but never met him. The old man was said to be odd, always alone, talking about stars and secrets. People whispered he was mad. But an estate? A big house? Elias had no money, no family left. This could be his chance for something better. He packed a small bag with clothes and a few books, then took the train up the winding tracks to the hills. The train ride was long and bumpy. Rain hit the windows like fingers tapping. Outside, trees bent in the wind, their leaves dark and wet. Elias thought about his life. His parents died young in a fire, leaving him with nothing but memories. He grew up in foster homes, always moving, never belonging. Maybe this manor would be a place to call home. As the train stopped at a tiny station, night was falling. A horse-drawn cart waited, driven by an old man with a hooded cloak. "You Thorne's kin?" The driver grumbled. Elias nodded. They rode in. Silence up a dirt road, mud splashing under the wheels. The air grew cold, filled with the smell of pine and earth. Far away, thunder rumbled like a giant's growl. Thorne Manor loomed at the top of the hill, a huge stone building with tall towers and pointed roofs. Vines climbed the walls like veins. Windows were dark, except one on the top floor that flickered with faint light. Elias felt a chill, not from the rain, but from deep inside. The driver dropped him off and left quickly, without a word. Elias knocked on the heavy oak door. It creaked open on its own. Inside, the hall was grand but forgotten. Dust covered everything. Marble floors, gold-framed mirrors, suits of armor standing like ghosts. A big staircase wound up into shadows. "Hello?" Elias called. His voice echoed back, empty. A man stepped from a side room. He was tall and thin with white hair and sharp eyes. "Mr. Thorne? I am Mr. Hargrove, the lawyer. Welcome." They shook hands. Hargrove's grip was cold and bony. He led Elias to a sitting room with a roaring fire. Warmth chased away the chill. They sat in leather chairs, papers spread on a table. "Your uncle was a recluse," Hargrove said. "He lived here alone for 50 years. No visitors, no friends. He collected odd things, books on stars, strange artifacts from far lands. The manor is yours now, along with a small fortune. But there is one condition." Elias leaned forward. "What condition?" Hargrove pulled out a sealed envelope. "You must live here for 1 year before selling or leaving. If you break this, everything goes to charity." Elias thought it over. A year in this big house? He could fix it up, read the books, maybe find peace. "I agree," he said. Hargrove nodded and left, promising to return with more papers. Elias was alone. He explored the ground floor, a kitchen with old pots, a dining room with a long table set for one. a library filled with shelves of leather-bound books. Titles caught his eye. The Mysteries of the Cosmos, Ancient Beings Beyond the Veil, Stars That Whisper Secrets. Uncle Reginald must have loved the night sky. Upstairs, bedrooms were empty, beds covered in white sheets like shrouds. At the end of the hall, a locked door. Elias found a key in his pocket. From the letter, it fit. Inside was the master bedroom, grand with a four-post bed and heavy curtains. On the wall hung a large portrait covered in cloth. Curious, Elias pulled the cloth away. Dust flew up, making him cough. The painting showed a man who looked like him, but older, with wild eyes and gray hair. It was Uncle Reginald, dressed in a black suit, standing against a starry background. The stars seemed wrong, twisted like eyes watching. Elias felt uneasy, but shook it off. "Just a picture," he muttered. That night, he slept in the bed. Dreams came, vast spaces, black voids with things moving, too big to understand. He woke sweating, heart pounding. Outside, wind howled. Was that a scream? No, just the storm. Next morning, sun peeked through clouds. Elias made breakfast from canned goods in the pantry. He decided to clean the house. Starting in the library, he dusted shelves, finding more books on forbidden knowledge. One fell open to a page. The portrait holds the key. It screams when the stars align. Elias laughed nervously. Superstition. Days passed. Elias settled in. He walked the grounds, overgrown gardens, a pond with murky water, woods thick with fog. Birds sang, but no animals showed. At night, he read by candlelight. The portrait upstairs drew him back. He stared at it often. The eyes followed him, or so it seemed. One evening, as dusk fell, Elias heard a sound, faint, like a whisper. From the portrait, he climbed the stairs, heart racing. In the room, silence. But the painting looked different, the mouth slightly open, as if about to speak. He touched the frame. Cold metal. Nothing. "I'm imagining things," he said. But sleep was hard. Dreams worsened, tentacles in the sky, worlds crumbling, screams from nowhere. Weeks went by. Elias wrote letters to old friends, but no replies. The town below seemed far away. He felt isolated, like the manor was a world of its own. Strange things happened. Books moved on shelves, shadows danced without light, whispers in empty rooms. Then, on a full moon night, it happened. Elias sat in the library reading about cosmic horrors, beings older than time, waiting in the dark. A scream pierced the air, high, terrible, like pain unending. He dropped the book, ran upstairs. The portrait's mouth was wide, eyes bulging. The scream came from it. Elias backed away, terror gripping him. The sound faded, but echoes lingered in his mind. What was this? Madness? Or something real? He barred the door, hid under covers, but questions burned. Why did Uncle Reginald leave this? What secret hid in the painting? Morning came. Elias approached the portrait again. It looked normal now, mouth closed. But he knew. The screams would return, and with them, truths too vast for a simple man. Elias spent the next days searching the manor for clues. He started in the attic, a place full of boxes and cobwebs. Light from a small window cut through dust like a knife. He opened trunks, old clothes, yellowed papers, strange objects. One was a glass orb, swirling with colors like distant galaxies. When he held it, visions flashed, stars exploding, planets dying. He dropped it, gasping. Down in the basement, damp walls and flickering lanterns. Crates of books, some in languages he didn't know. Symbols like twisted worms. One journal caught. His eye leather cover cracked. Inside, Uncle Reginald's handwriting. The portrait is a gate. It shows the face of the watcher from beyond. When it screams, the end begins. Elias read on, pages filled with fear. Reginald wrote of nights staring at stars, feeling eyes stare back. He found an old book in a far market. a tome of lost knowledge. It taught how to paint a portrait that captures essence, not just body but soul and more. But something went wrong. The painting trapped a piece of the cosmos, a being vast and hungry. Elias closed the journal, mind spinning. Was this true? Or madness passed down? He remembered family stories. Great-grandfather was an explorer, brought back curses from dark lands. Maybe it ran in the blood. Outside, the gardens called. Elias walked paths overgrown with thorns. Roses black as night bloomed, petals falling like blood. At the pond, water still as glass. He saw his reflection, but behind it, shapes moved, long arms, many eyes. He blinked, gone. Back inside, he cooked simple meals. Soup from vegetables. In the cellar, bread baked in the old oven. Eating alone, he thought of life before. Boring, but safe. Now, excitement mixed with dread. Nights grew worse. Whispers started soft, words he couldn't catch. From walls, floors, the portrait. He avoided the master room, slept in a guest bed. But dreams followed, floating in space, tiny against endless black. Voices called his name, promising secrets if he listened. One day a visitor came. A knock at the door surprised him. It was a woman, middle-aged, with kind eyes and a basket. "I'm Mrs. Ellis from town. Heard the new owner arrived. Brought pie." Elias invited her in, hungry for company. They talked by the fire. She spoke of the manor's history, built 200 years ago by a rich merchant who vanished. Rumors of ghosts, strange lights. "Your uncle was odd," she said, "always watching the sky with his telescope. People said he talked to stars." Elias mentioned the portrait. Mrs. Ellis paled. "Don't look too long. They say it changes." She left quickly. Rain starting again. Alone, Elias felt lonelier. He set up the telescope in the tower, an old brass thing. That night, he looked at stars. They twinkled, but some seemed to pulse, like hearts beating. A comet streaked, and whispers grew louder. The scream came again, louder. Elias ran to the portrait, the face twisted, mouth open in agony. But now, words in the scream. "They come, the old ones. Awake." Elias fell to his knees. What old ones? From books he knew, beings from before time, sleeping in voids, waiting to devour worlds. The scream came again, louder. Elias ran to the portrait, the face twisted, mouth open in agony. But now, words in the scream. "They come, the old ones. Awake." Elias fell to his knees. What old ones? From books he knew, beings from before time, sleeping in voids, waiting to devour worlds. He nailed boards over the painting, but sounds leaked through. He read more journals. Reginald tried to destroy it, but couldn't. Fire didn't burn it, axes bounced off. It was bound to the house, to the bloodline. Elias decided to leave, condition or not. But as he packed, the door locked. Windows wouldn't open. The manor held him. Trapped, he explored more. In a hidden room behind the library, walls painted with stars and monsters, a map of the cosmos, lines connecting to Earth, to the manor. Days blurred. Food ran low, but he didn't hunger. The whispers fed him knowledge, compressed truths of the universe. Humans are specks. Gods are myths. Real powers are indifferent horrors. The portrait screamed nightly. Each time, Elias saw visions. Cities in the stars, ruined by tentacle gods. Oceans of black where souls drift forever. He wrote his own journal, words pouring out. The inheritance is a curse. The portrait shows truth we can't bear. Cosmic vastness crushes the soul. One storm night, lightning flashed. The boards cracked. The portrait revealed, face now like Elias's, screaming his pain. He understood. The painting stole pieces of him, linking to the beyond. To stop it, he must face the stars. Climbing the tower, telescope to eye, he saw them, eyes in the sky, watching. The scream echoed from above, not the painting. The cosmos called. Elias answered, whispering back. Elias woke the next day with a headache, like his brain was too full. He made tea from old leaves in the kitchen. the pot whistling like a distant scream. Sitting at the table, he stared at his hands, veins blue, pulsing. Were they changing? He decided to map the house. Pencil and paper, he drew rooms. Hall, library, kitchen, 10 bedrooms, attic, basement, tower. Hidden spots. He tapped walls, listening for hollow sounds. In the dining room, behind a mirror, a small door. Inside, a narrow stair down to a secret cellar. The secret cellar was dark, air thick with mold. Lantern light showed shelves of jars, pickled things, floating eyes, twisted limbs. No, just fruits, but they looked wrong. A desk with letters, Reginald's correspondence with scholars. The alignment nears, one said. The portrait will open the gate. What alignment? Elias recalled astronomy books, planets lining up, stars in position. He checked a calendar. In 2 months, a rare event. He felt watched. Turning, shadows moved. Who's there? Silence. Back upstairs, he cleaned the portrait room. Under the bed, a box of paints and brushes. Reginald painted it himself. The canvas, user said don't use canvas, so the cloth, was thick, odd texture like skin. Touching the painting, static shock. Vision. Reginald standing, brush in hand, chanting words from the old book. The paint mixed with blood, stars reflected in his eyes. The face came alive, screaming as the being entered. Elias pulled away, breathless. Knowledge compressed into that touch. The portrait was a trap for a cosmic entity, but it backfired, binding Reginald's soul too. He tried to pray, but words felt empty. Gods were small compared to this. Days of routine. Wake, eat, read, explore, sleep with dreams. Dreams detailed. Flying through space, past nebulae like colorful clouds, planets with rings of fire, then dark zones where light dies. Beings there, forms shifting, tentacles, eyes, mouths whispering secrets of creation. Universe born from a scream will end in one dream. He met Reginald. Nephew, you must hold on. The scream is a warning, not the end. Waking, Elias searched for the old book Reginald mentioned. In the library, behind false books, a tome bound in leather, human. Inside, pages yellow, ink faded, symbols, spells, warnings. To bind the watcher, paint its face under the blood moon. But beware, it binds you too. Elias studied it, learning fast. Knowledge compressed. Cosmos has layers. Our world thin. Beings poke through cracks. The portrait is a crack. He experimented, lit candles around the painting, chanted words. The mouth twitched, but no scream. Power surged. Stars outside brightened. Fear grew, but curiosity too. What if he could control it? See the wonders, not just horrors. A storm hit, wind rattling windows. Power out, candles only, shadows long, whispers clear. Elias, join us, see the truth. He ran to the portrait, face alive, eyes following. Scream started low, building to ear-splitting. Visions flooded. Entire histories of alien races, wars in the stars, knowledge of physics beyond human. Gravity as a lie, time a loop. He collapsed, mind overflowing. When he woke, he knew things. How to build machines that bend space, cures for diseases from starlight, but also the insignificance of life. The inheritance was not the house, but this knowledge, compressed, dangerous, wonderful in its terror. Weeks passed. Elias changed, hair graying, eyes distant. He talked to the portrait, asking questions, answers in dreams. Mrs. Ellis came again, worried. You look ill. Leave this place. He smiled. I can't. It's home. She left, scared. Alone, he prepared for the alignment. The screams would peak, the gate open. But for now, he lived with the portrait. It screams a song of the cosmos. Elias began a routine to cope. Mornings, he gardened, pulling weeds, planting seeds from the cellar. The soil was rich, but plants grew twisted, leaves with patterns like constellations. He ate the fruits, sweet but with a bitter aftertaste that made his head buzz with ideas. Afternoons, library time. He read voraciously, books on history, science, occult. Knowledge compressed. Galileo saw stars, but not the beings hiding in them. Einstein's theories close, but missed the voids where equations break. Chapter 2. Whispers. In the old Hall Elias, Thorne woke to the sound of rain tapping the windows of Thorne Manor like nervous fingers. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of dust and old wood. His dreams had been restless, swirling voids of stars, voices chanting words he couldn't grasp, and always the portrait of Uncle Reginald staring down, its painted eyes alive with secrets. He rubbed his face, feeling the weight of the house settle deeper into his bones. It had been 3 weeks since he arrived to claim his inheritance, and the manor was no longer just a building. It was a presence, watchful, waiting. He swung his legs out of bed, the cold floor biting his bare feet. The guest room he'd chosen was small, far from the master bedroom where the portrait hung. He avoided that room now, its screams still echoing in his mind from that first awful night. Downstairs he brewed tea in the ancient kitchen, the kettle whistling like a faint cry. The manor was too big for one man. Hallways stretched like endless tunnels, rooms sat empty under sheets of dust, and every creak felt like a whisper. Today, Elias decided to explore the grand hall, the heart of the manor. He'd passed through it before, but its size and strangeness demanded closer attention. Armed with a lantern and a notebook, he stepped into the cavernous space. The hall was vast, with a ceiling so high it vanished into shadows. Marble floors gleamed faintly under layers of grime, and walls were lined with tall portraits, their faces blurred by time. At the far end, a massive chandelier hung, its crystals dull but catching the lantern's glow like distant stars. Elias walked slowly, his footsteps echoing. The air felt thick, as if the hall held its breath. He stopped at a portrait of a woman in a black dress, her eyes sharp and sad. The plaque read, Eleanor Thorne, 1782. A great-great-grandmother. Her gaze seemed to follow him, just like Uncle Reginald's painting. He shivered and moved on. Halfway down the hall, he noticed a door he hadn't seen before, half hidden behind a faded tapestry of a starry sky. The tapestry's threads were worn, but the stars were stitched in silver, glinting oddly. He pushed it aside, revealing a wooden door carved with the same twisted star symbol from the letter that brought him here. His heart quickened. The key, from his pocket, the one from the lawyer's envelope, fit perfectly. The door opened to a narrow hallway, walls of dark stone, air damp and cold. The lantern cast long shadows that danced like living things. Elias hesitated, then stepped forward. The manor seemed to hum, a low vibration he felt in his chest. At the hallway's end was another door, iron and heavy, with no lock but a strange latch shaped like a crescent moon. He pressed it, and the door groaned open. Inside was a circular room, its walls covered in murals of cosmic scenes, planets, swirling in red and purple mists, comets trailing fire, and creatures too vast to comprehend, their forms made of shadow and light. In the center stood a pedestal with a single object, a small black stone carved with runes. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Elias reached for it, then stopped. The air grew heavy, whispers rising from nowhere. "Touch and see," they said. "Know the truth." The rest of the day, Elias cleaned the hall, trying to shake the unease. He swept dust, polished the marble, and climbed a ladder to wipe the chandelier's crystals. Each one sparkled, but some seemed to hold tiny flecks of light, like trapped stars. He found himself humming, a tune from his childhood, to drown out the silence. But the manor wasn't silent. Creaks came from above, footsteps from empty rooms, and always those whispers, too faint to understand. By evening he sat by the fire in the sitting room, a book from the library open on his lap. It was titled, "The Voices of the Void," written in spidery handwriting. The pages spoke of ancient beings, older than Earth, who lived in the spaces between stars. They whispered to those who listened, offering knowledge but demanding a price. Elias slammed the book shut. Was this what Uncle Reginald heard? Was it madness or something real? He ate a simple dinner, bread, cheese, apples from the cellar. The apples were sweet but left a strange aftertaste, like metal or stars. He wondered if the manor's strangeness was seeping into him. His reflection in a mirror showed tired eyes, hair starting to gray at the edges. He was only 35, but the house aged him. That night, he dreamed again. He stood in the grand hall, but it stretched forever, the chandelier a galaxy spinning above. The portraits moved, their faces turning to him, mouths opening in silent screams. The woman, Eleanor, stepped from her frame, her dress trailing shadows. "You hear them too," she said, her voice like wind through bones. "They call to you, as they called to us." Elias woke, gasping, the dream's words lingering. He grabbed his lantern and went to the hall. The portraits were still, but Eleanor's eyes seemed brighter, sharper. He touched the frame, and a shock ran through him. Visions of a woman writing in a diary, staring at stars, hearing whispers that drove her to tears. Was this Eleanor's story? Did she suffer like Reginald? The next day, Elias searched for answers. He scoured the library, pulling books from shelves. One, The Thorne Legacy, detailed his family's history. The Thornes were explorers, scholars, and dreamers, always chasing the unknown. Many went mad. A great-uncle sailed to a lost island and never returned. A cousin built a machine to talk to the stars and vanished in a flash of light. Was this Elias's fate? He found a letter tucked in the book, yellowed and brittle. It was from Eleanor to her son, dated 1782. "The manor is alive," she wrote. "It speaks through the walls, the paintings, the stars. I hear them at night, calling my name. Do not come here." Elias's hands shook. Why did the family keep returning to this cursed place? The whispers grew louder each night. They came from the hall, the hidden room, even the air itself. Elias tried to ignore them, focusing on chores, chopping wood, fixing leaks, reading by candlelight. But the voices were persistent, weaving into his thoughts. They spoke of vast places, worlds of ice and fire, beings that watched humanity like ants. One afternoon, he found a trapdoor under a rug in the hall. It led to a tunnel, damp and narrow, with walls etched with symbols, stars, eyes, spirals. At the end, a chamber with a single chair facing a blank wall. Elias sat, feeling foolish, but the whispers sharpened. "Look," they said. He stared. At the wall, and shapes appeared, faint at first, then clear, a city of black stone, towers reaching to a sky with no stars, figures moving with too many limbs. He ran back to the hall, slamming the trapdoor. His notebook filled with sketches of what he saw, words spilling out. "City not of earth, beings not human. They know I'm here." He felt watched, not just by the portraits but by something bigger, beyond the walls. Days blended into weeks. Elias lost track of time. The manor felt alive, its halls shifting, doors appearing where none were before. He found a new room one day, filled with mirrors. Each showed a different Elias, older, younger, screaming, smiling. One mirror showed nothing but stars. He smashed it and the shards bled black. Mrs. Ellis visited again, her face pale. "You're changing," she said. "The manor does that. Leave, Elias." He shook his head. "I need to know what it wants." She left, promising to pray for him. That night, the whispers became a chorus. Elias stood in the hall, lantern, shaking. The chandelier glowed without candles, crystals pulsing like heartbeats. The portraits sang, voices overlapping in a language of pain and wonder. Eleanor's painting glowed brightest, her eyes pleading. Elias ran to the hidden room. The black stone on the pedestal was warm now, its runes glowing. He touched it, and knowledge flooded him, compressed truths of the cosmos. Stars are alive, space is a sea, and something ancient swims in it. The whispers named it the Watcher Beyond. He staggered back to the hall, visions burning his mind. Galaxies born in screams, worlds eaten by shadows. The manor a beacon calling the watcher. The portraits watched, their faces now his own, screaming silently. Elias wrote in his notebook, "The hall is a gate. The whispers are its key. I hear them always now." The next night the chandelier fell. It crashed in the hall, crystals scattering like stars. Elias stood among them, hearing one clear voice. "You are ours." He looked up and the ceiling was gone. Above, a sky of endless black, with eyes staring down. He didn't sleep. He couldn't. The manor was no longer a house, but a bridge to something vast, and he was its keeper. Elias's days became a blur of survival and discovery. He woke early, the manor's chill seeping into his bones. He made fires with wood from the yard, the logs damp but burning with strange blue flames. Breakfast was simple: oatmeal from the pantry, water from a well that tasted of iron. He washed dishes in a sink that gurgled like it was alive. Mornings, he explored. The grand hall was his focus, its secrets pulling him back. He measured it, 100 feet long, 50 wide, with 20 portraits. Each face was a thorn, their eyes holding stories of fear and wonder. He found a journal under a floorboard, written by a man named Elias Thorne, 1840. "The hall sings at night," Silas wrote. "It knows my name. I see things in the crystals, places not meant for men." Elias climbed to the chandelier's remains, salvaging crystals. One fit in his palm, warm, glowing faintly. When he held it, he saw a vision. A desert of black sand, a figure with no face offering a crown of thorns. He dropped the crystal, heart racing. Afternoons, he read in the library, books piled high, their pages brittle. One, "The Cosmic Veil," explained the whispers. Voices of entities trapped in the spaces between worlds, drawn to places like the manor, thin spots where realities touch. Elias underlined passages, his pencil shaking. Was the hall such a place? He found a telescope in a closet, smaller than the one in the tower. He set it up in the hall, aiming at a window. The stars outside were wrong, too bright, moving in patterns like a dance. One night, a star pulsed, and the whispers said, "We see you." He hid the telescope after that. Evenings, he cooked dinner, vegetables from the garden, now growing in spirals. The food filled him but left him hollow, as if the manor fed on his strength. He wrote letters to no one, sealing them in envelopes he'd never send. "I'm not alone," he wrote. "The house is with me." The whispers grew bolder. They came from mirrors, floors, even his own shadow. He avoided the hidden room but felt its pull. One day, he returned, the stone still glowing. He didn't touch it but sat, listening. The voices taught him, the universe is a web, each star a knot, each planet a thread. The manor was a snag, pulling the web tight. He dreamed of Eleanor again. She stood in the hall, pointing to a portrait of a man with no eyes. "He listened too long," she said. "Don't become him." Elias woke, checking his reflection. His eyes were still there, but they looked older, deeper. A storm hit, lightning flashing through the hall. The portraits glowed, faces shifting. Some smiled, some screamed. Elias ran to the trapdoor, descending to the chamber. The blank wall showed new images, a sea of stars, a ship of bone sailing it, crude by shadows. He sat in the chair, mesmerized, until dawn. Mrs. Ellis came once more, bringing bread. "You're fading," she said. "The manor eats you." Elias laughed, a hollow sound. "It's teaching me." She left, crossing herself. The whispers never stopped now. They sang of the watcher, its hunger, its patience. Elias felt it watching, not just from the stars, but from the hall itself. The portraits were its eyes, the chandelier its heart. One night, he found a new door in the hall carved with eyes. It opened to a staircase spiraling up. He climbed, legs shaking, to a room with no walls, just stars. The whispers were deafening. "Join us. Become one." He fled, locking the door. His notebook overflowed. "The hall is alive. It wants me to open the gate. The watcher waits." The manor changed him. His hair was gray now, his skin pale. He felt light, like he could float away. The whispers promised knowledge, how to build worlds, how to end them. But the price was his soul. As the alignment neared, the hall pulsed. The portraits screamed in unison. The chandelier's crystals regrew, glowing red. Elias stood in the center, whispers wrapping him like a shroud. He was no longer just Elias Thorne. He was part of the manor, part of the cosmos, and the Watcher smiled. Chapter 3. The Face Behind the Dust. Elias Thorne sat in the dim library of Thorne Manor, surrounded by towering shelves of ancient books. The air smelled of leather and mold, and the only light came from a flickering lantern on the table. It was late, past midnight, and the manor groaned under the weight of another storm. Rain pounded the windows, and wind howled like a beast trapped outside. Elias's hands trembled as he turned the pages of a book titled The Veil of Shadows, its words swimming in his tired eyes. The whispers from the grand hall had followed him here, faint but persistent, curling around his thoughts like smoke. It had been a month since he arrived at the manor, and the house was no longer just a place to live. It was a puzzle, a trap, a voice that spoke to him in dreams and waking hours. The portrait of Uncle Reginald, with its screaming mouth and staring eyes, haunted him most. He avoided the master bedroom where it hung, but its presence lingered, like a shadow cast across his mind. Last night, the whispers had grown clearer, forming words he could almost understand. Look. See. The face. He knew they meant the portrait. Elias closed the book and rubbed his face. His skin felt thin, his eyes heavy. He was changing. Gray. Streaks in his hair, a hollow look in his reflection. The manor was doing this, feeding on him while filling his head with strange knowledge. He'd learned things from the books. Stars that pulsed with life, worlds hidden in the dark, beings that watched from beyond. But the portrait was the key. He felt it in his bones. He stood, lantern in hand, and made a decision. He couldn't run from the painting anymore. Tonight he would face it. The grand hall was quiet as he passed through, the portraits of his ancestors watching silently. Their eyes seemed to glow, but he didn't look too long. The staircase creaked under his weight, each step heavier than the last. At the master bedroom door, he paused, heart pounding. The key from the lawyer's letter was cold in his pocket. He turned it in the lock, and the door swung open with a sigh. The room was dark, the air thick with dust. The portrait loomed on the wall, covered by the cloth he'd draped over it weeks ago. Moonlight slipped through the curtains, casting faint beams that made the cloth look alive, rippling like water. Elias's breath caught. He stepped forward, hands shaking as he reached for the cloth. Just a painting, he whispered, trying to convince himself. He pulled the cloth away. Dust exploded into the air, making him cough and blink. The portrait of Uncle Reginald stared back, larger than he remembered. The old man's face was stern, with wild gray hair and eyes that burned with intensity. The background was a swirl of stars, but they weren't right. Twisted, pulsing, like living things. Elias stepped closer, lantern raised. The paint seemed fresh, almost wet, and the eyes followed him unblinking. He swore, the mouth twitched, as if about to speak. He touched the frame, cold and heavy. A shock ran through him, and his vision blurred. Images flooded his mind. Uncle Reginald standing in this room, brush in hand, chanting words from an old book. Blood dripped from his finger into the paint, mixing with colors that glowed unnaturally. The stars in the painting moved, forming a face, not human, but vast, with eyes like black holes. Reginald screamed as the face spoke, its voice shaking the walls. Elias stumbled back, the vision fading. His heart raced. The portrait wasn't just art. It was a door, a window, a prison. He remembered the journal from the attic. The portrait holds the key. It screams when the stars align. Was this what it meant? He looked closer, noticing details he'd missed. The frame was carved with tiny symbols, stars, eyes, spirals. They matched the runes on the black stone in the hidden room. He sat on the bed, staring at the painting. The whispers returned, louder now, coming from the portrait itself. "See, no, open." Elias shook his head. "What do you want?" he asked aloud. The room was silent, but the air grew heavy, pressing against his chest. He felt watched, not just by the painting, but by something bigger, something beyond the walls. He decided to clean the portrait, hoping to break its hold. He found a rag in the room and wiped the canvas gently. Dust fell away, revealing more of the starry background. The stars seemed to shift as he cleaned, forming patterns that hurt his eyes. He stopped, dizzy. The mouth was open now, just a little, as if caught mid-word. He hadn't seen that before. Or had he? Elias spent the next day in the library, searching for answers. He pulled every book on art, magic, and the cosmos. One, The Art of the Forbidden, described paintings that held power, portraits that captured souls, landscapes that trapped spirits. To bind a being, it said, mix blood with paint under a blood moon. But beware, for the binding binds the painter too. Elias's stomach churned. Had Reginald done this? Trapped something in the portrait, and himself with it? He found another clue in a book called The Starry Veil. It spoke of watchers, beings older than time, living in the spaces between stars. They could be called to Earth through rituals, but only at great cost. The book mentioned a family, the Thornes, who built a house on a thin place where the veil between worlds was weak. Elias slammed the book shut. Thorne Manor, his family, his curse. He returned to the portrait that evening, armed with a candle and his notebook. He sketched the symbols on the frame, trying to decode them. They reminded him of the tunnel under the grand hall, the walls etched with similar marks. He wrote, "Portrait is a gate. Symbols are the lock. Whispers are the key." The candle flickered, though no wind blew. The whispers grew, forming a name, Cthar'ul. Elias froze. The name felt heavy, like a stone in his mind. He didn't know what it meant, but it terrified him. He backed away, leaving the candle burning. That night, he dreamed of the portrait. Reginald's face melted, revealing a void where stars spun and a voice spoke. "Cthar'ul sees you." Elias woke screaming, his voice blending with the manor's creaks. The next morning, he tried to leave. He packed a bag, determined to escape the manor's grip. But the front door wouldn't open. The windows were stuck, sealed by some unseen force. He pounded on them, shouting, but the world outside felt far away, shrouded in fog. The manor held him. He returned to the portrait, anger mixing with fear. "What are you?" he yelled. The mouth opened wider, and a low moan filled the room. Not a scream this time, but a sound of sorrow, deep and endless. Elias's knees buckled. He saw visions again. Reginald painting, his hands shaking, tears falling. "I didn't mean to," Reginald whispered in the vision. "I only wanted to know." Elias spent days studying the portrait. He cleaned it obsessively, revealing more details. The stars in the background formed a constellation he didn't recognize, but it matched one in the starry veil. It was called the Eye of the Void, a sign of the Watcher's presence. He noticed Reginald's hands in the painting, clutching a book, the same book from the attic. He searched but couldn't find it. The manor changed around him. Doors moved, hallways stretched. One night, he found a new room off the master bedroom, filled with mirrors. Each showed a different version of the portrait. Reginald smiling, weeping, screaming. One mirror showed Elias's face instead, his eyes black voids. He smashed the mirrors, but the shards whispered, "Look, see." He stopped sleeping. The whispers were constant now, weaving into his thoughts. He ate little, the food tasting of ash. The garden's plants grew wilder, vines creeping up the manor's walls like fingers. He found a diary in the library, written by Elias Thorne. "The portrait sees me," she wrote. "It knows my fears. I painted it to trap the voice, but it trapped me." Elias realized the truth. The portrait wasn't just Reginald's. It was older, painted by many thorns, each adding to its power, each binding themselves to it. He was next. One stormy night, the whispers became a chorus. Elias stood before the portrait, candlelight dancing on its surface. The mouth opened fully, and a scream tore through the room. Not Reginald's voice, but something vast, ancient, hungry. Elias saw the cosmos, stars dying, worlds crumbling, a face forming in the void, too big to comprehend. Its eyes locked on him, and he felt his soul unravel. He fell, vision fading. When he woke, the portrait was normal again, but his notebook was filled with words he didn't remember writing. Cthar'ul comes. The face is the door. The scream is the call. Elias knew he couldn't run. The manor, the portrait, the whispers, they were part of him now. He was a thorn, bound to the cosmic truth hidden in the dust. Elias's days became a ritual of survival and obsession. He woke at dawn, the manor's chill seeping into his bones. He made fires in the sitting room, using wood from the yard that burned with a strange smell, like sulfur and stars. Breakfast was oatmeal or apples from the cellar, their taste sharp, leaving his mouth tingling. He washed dishes in the kitchen, the sink gurgling as if alive. The routine grounded him, but the manor's presence was always there, watching. Mornings. He explored the master bedroom. He found hidden panels in the walls, revealing shelves of strange objects, a dagger with a starry hilt, a vial of black liquid that moved on its own, a clock that ran backward. Each object hummed with energy, whispering when he touched it. The dagger showed him visions of blood spilled under moonlight. The vial spoke of oceans beyond Earth. The clock ticked with the rhythm of the cosmos. He wrote in his notebook, objects tied to the portrait, tools of the ritual. Afternoons he returned to the library. He read until his eyes ached, books piling around him. The cosmic pact described a family, his family, who made a deal with a watcher centuries ago. They built the manor on a thin place, a spot where the universe's fabric was weak. The portrait was their anchor, a way to speak to the watcher, but it trapped them instead. Elias underlined, the face behind the dust is not human. He found a letter in a book, written by a man named Gideon Thorne, 1820. I painted over Eleanor's work, adding my blood. The voice grew louder. I see it in my dreams, a face of stars and shadow. Elias's heart sank. The portrait was a shared curse, layered with the blood of his ancestors. Evenings, he cleaned the portrait again, wiping away dust that seemed to grow back overnight. The canvas felt warm, alive. He noticed new details. Reginald's hands now held a key, the same one Elias carried. The stars in the background pulsed, forming eyes that watched him. He spoke to the painting, desperate. What do you want from me? The mouth twitched, but no answer came. Nights were the worst. The whispers sang, filling the manor with voices. Elias dreamed of the void, floating among stars that screamed his name. He saw Reginald, Eleanor, Gideon, all standing before the portrait, their faces melting into one. You are us, they said. He woke, checking his reflection. His eyes were darker, his skin paler. The manor was eating him. One day, he found a trapdoor in the bedroom, hidden under the rug. It led to a small room with walls painted black, covered in chalk drawings of stars and symbols. A single chair faced a blank canvas, empty but heavy, with presence. Elias sat and the whispers roared. Paint, bind, become. He fled, heart pounding. Mrs. Ellis visited again, her face lined with worry. You're not you anymore, she said, handing him a loaf of bread. The manor takes your soul. Elias smiled thinly. It's giving me truth. She left, muttering prayers. The storm grew fiercer each night. Lightning lit the portrait, making it glow. Elias saw new visions, a city of glass in the stars, its streets filled with shadows that sang. The portrait's scream grew louder, shaking the walls. He wrote, the face is not Reginald's, it's Cthar'ul's. I'm next. He tried to destroy the painting, smashing a chair against it. The canvas didn't tear. He poured water on it, but the paint stayed dry. He set a match to it, but the flame died. The portrait was untouchable, eternal. As the alignment neared, the manor pulsed. Doors opened on their own, leading to rooms that shouldn't exist, spaces of endless stars, floors of black water. The whispers became a chant. Cthar'ul. Cthar'ul. Elias stood before the portrait, his reflection merging with Reginald's. The scream came again, and he saw the face behind the dust, a vast cosmic horror, smiling. He was no longer just Elias. He was a thorn, a key, a gate. The portrait screamed, and he screamed with it, lost in the dust of the cosmos. Chapter 4. Echoes of the Night. Elias Thorne no longer trusted the night. The darkness that cloaked Thorne Manor was not just the absence of light. It was alive, heavy, with whispers and eyes that watched from places he couldn't see. It was November now, 6 weeks since he arrived to claim his inheritance, and the manor had become a cage. The portrait of Uncle Reginald, with its screaming mouth and starry eyes, was the heart of it all, but the nights were its voice. Every evening, as the sun sank and the stars emerged, the manor hummed with a strange energy, and Elias felt it pulling him deeper into its secrets. He woke one morning in the guest room, his breath visible in the cold air. The fire had died overnight, and the room was icy. His dreams had been vivid, a vast black sea under a sky of writhing stars, waves whispering his name, and a shadow with too many arms reaching for him. He shook off the images, but they clung like damp cloth. His hands were pale, veins stark against his skin, and his hair was more gray than brown now. The manor was changing him, and he wasn't sure he could stop it. Elias made breakfast in the kitchen, the routine grounding him. He boiled water for tea, the kettle's whistle sharp against the manor's quiet. He ate bread and apples from the cellar, their taste sharp and strange, like biting into a storm. The food filled his stomach, but left him hollow, as if the manor fed on his strength. He washed dishes in the sink, its gurgle sounding like a chuckle. "Stop it," he muttered, half to himself, half to the house. Today, he decided to face the night itself. The whispers were loudest after dark, and the portrait's screams came when the stars were brightest. He needed to understand why. Armed, with his lantern, a notebook, and the old telescope from the tower, he planned to watch the sky from the manor's roof. Maybe the stars held answers, the books didn't. The day passed in a blur of chores. Elias swept the grand hall, the portraits of his ancestors staring down. Eleanor Thorne's eyes seemed to plead while others smirked, as if they knew something he didn't. He dusted the chandelier's scattered crystals, some still glowing faintly, like trapped fireflies. In the library, he read more of the starry veil, its pages warning of nights when the veil between worlds thinned. "When the stars align," it said, "the watchers speak loudest." The alignment was coming soon, in weeks, and Elias felt time slipping away. As dusk fell, he climbed to the roof through a hatch in the attic. The air was sharp, smelling of rain and pine. The manor's towers loomed around him, their pointed roofs like spears aimed at the sky. He set up the telescope, its brass cold under his fingers. The stars were already out, brighter than they should be, pulsing in patterns that made his head ache. He focused the lens on a cluster that seemed to move, swirling like a whirlpool. The whispers came, soft at first, then louder. "See, no, come." Elias's heart raced. He adjusted the telescope, and the stars formed a face, not human, but vast, with eyes like voids and a mouth that stretched across the sky. He stumbled back, knocking the telescope over. The whispers laughed, a sound like breaking glass. He grabbed his notebook and wrote, "Stars are alive. They see me. They know my name." Back inside, he locked the hatch and sat in the attic, surrounded by dusty trunks. He opened one, finding old clothes and a journal marked Amos Thorne, 1801. The pages were brittle, the ink faded. Amos wrote of nights spent on the roof, watching stars that whispered promises of power and terror. "The manor is a beacon," he wrote. "It calls them, and they answer." Elias's hands shook. His family had known this for centuries, yet they stayed. Why? He returned to the library, the lantern casting long shadows. He found a book, The Night's Truth, hidden behind others. Its pages described a ritual to hear the echoes of the night. It required standing in the grand hall at midnight under the chandelier and speaking the name of a watcher. Elias hesitated. The name from the portrait, Cthar'ul, burned in his mind. Did he dare? Midnight came. Elias stood in the grand hall, the chandelier's crystals glowing faintly above. The portraits watched, their faces sharper in the dark. He held a candle, its flame steady despite the draft. "Cthar'ul," he whispered. The air grew heavy, the whispers rising into a chorus. The chandelier shook, crystals clinking like bells. The portraits' mouths opened, singing a wordless song of pain and wonder. Elias saw visions, a city of black stone under a sky with no stars, its streets filled with shadows that moved like liquid. A figure stood at the city's center, its face hidden, but its presence vast. It turned to him, and he felt his soul shrink. The vision faded, but the whispers stayed, chanting, "Cthar'ul, Cthar'ul." He ran to his room, barring the door. The next day, Elias tried to stay busy. He chopped wood in the yard, the axe heavy in his hands. The trees around the manor were twisted, their bark carved with symbols he now recognized: stars, eyes, spirals. He found a stone in the garden, like the one in the hidden room, pulsing faintly. He left it untouched, afraid of its power. In the afternoon, he explored the basement. The air was damp, the walls slick with moss. Crates held more books, their titles chilling. The Void's Call, The Watcher's Pact. One book was open, as if waiting for him. It described the manor as a node, a place where the cosmos touched Earth. "The night amplifies it," the book said. "The stars sing and the house listens." Elias's dreams that night were worse. He stood on the roof, the sky a sea of eyes. The stars spoke, their voices overlapping. "You are ours. Open the gate." He woke, sweating, and heard footsteps in the hall. He grabbed his lantern and checked, but no one was there. The portraits grinned, their eyes brighter than before. He decided to face the portrait again. In the master bedroom, the painting seemed larger, the stars in its background pulsing like heartbeats. He cleaned it, wiping away dust that never seemed to stay gone. The mouth was open wider now, and the eyes followed him, unblinking. He spoke to it. "What are you?" The whispers answered, "We are the night. We are the truth." Elias found a hidden drawer in the room's desk, containing a letter from Reginald. "I painted it to trap Cthar'ul," it read, "but it trapped me." The stars aligned, and the scream began. "You must finish it, or it takes you too." Elias's blood ran cold. Finish what? Destroy the painting? Or something worse? He spent days searching for the ritual's end. The library yielded clues. A book called The Binding described unmaking a portrait by burning it with starlight, captured in a crystal. Elias remembered the chandelier's crystals, some still scattered. In the hall, he collected them, their glow warm in his hands. One showed him a vision, Reginald burning a crystal under the portrait, chanting words that shook the air. The painting screamed, but didn't burn. Elias tried the ritual himself. He stood before the portrait at midnight, a crystal in one hand, a candle in the other. He spoke words from the binding. "By star and shadow, I unmake you." The crystal glowed, the portrait trembled, but the scream came, louder, angrier, shaking the manor's walls. Elias dropped the crystal, which shattered, its light fading. The whispers laughed. "You cannot stop us." He stopped sleeping. The nights were too loud, the whispers too clear. He ate less, the food tasting of dust. The manor changed around him. Doors led to new rooms, filled with starry murals or mirrors showing his face twisted into something else. One room had a telescope pointed at a blank wall, but when he looked through it, he saw the black city again, its shadows reaching. For him, Mrs. Ellis came once more, her face pale. "You're fading," she said, handing him a pie. "The night's taking you." Elias nodded, too tired to argue. "I have to know," he said. She left, shaking her head. The alignment was closer now, the stars brighter each night. Elias watched them from the roof, the telescope showing patterns that hurt his eyes. The whispers named them: the eye of the void, the mouth of eternity. Each night the portrait screamed, and Elias saw more. Worlds burning, seas of stars, a face forming in the dark. Cthar'ul, vast and hungry. He wrote in his notebook, "The night is the manor's voice. The portrait is its mouth. I'm part of it now." His hand shook, the words jagged. He was no longer just Elias Thorne. He was a key, a bridge, a sacrifice. One night the manor shook, as if alive. The grand hall's chandelier regrew its crystals, glowing red. The portrait sang, their voices a chorus of agony. Elias stood before the portrait, its mouth wide, its eyes his own. The scream came, and he screamed too, the sound merging with the night's echoes. He saw the truth. The manor was a gate, the portrait its lock, and he was the key. The night was calling, and he could no longer resist. Chapter 5. Stars That Watch. Back Elias. Thorne stood on the roof of Thorne Manor, the night, sky sprawling above him like a living canvas. It was late November, and the air was sharp with frost, biting his skin through his thin coat. The stars were brighter than ever, pulsing in unnatural rhythms that made his head throb. He clutched the old brass telescope, its metal cold against his palms, and peered through the lens. The stars weren't just lights, they were eyes watching him, knowing him. The whispers that had haunted him for weeks were louder now, a chorus weaving through the wind. "See us. Join us. You are ours." Elias's heart pounded, but he couldn't look away. The manor, the portrait, the whispers, they were all tied to the stars, and he was caught in their pull. It had been 7 weeks since he arrived at the manor, claiming the inheritance that felt more like a curse. The portrait of Uncle Reginald, with its screaming mouth and starry background, was the center of it all, but the night sky was its voice. Every evening, as darkness fell, the manor came alive, its walls humming, its shadows moving. Elias was changing too. His hair now fully gray, his eyes sunken, his hands trembling with knowledge he didn't want but couldn't reject. The manor was feeding him truths about the cosmos, truths too vast for a simple man to hold. He lowered the telescope, his breath clouding in the cold. The manor's towers loomed around him, their pointed roofs like claws reaching for the stars. He'd come to the roof to understand the whispers, to see what the stars wanted. The books in the library, the starry veil, the night's truth, spoke of watchers, ancient beings living in the spaces between stars, drawn to places like the manor where the veil between worlds was thin. Elias felt that thinness now, the air heavy with presence, as if the sky itself was leaning closer. He scribbled in his notebook, the pencil shaking. Stars move. They see. They speak. The manor is their anchor. He remembered a line from the Cosmic Pact. The stars watch back when the alignment nears. The alignment was close, days away, maybe less. The books didn't say exactly when, but the sky was changing, the stars forming patterns that hurt to look at. Elias felt time slipping, the manor tightening its grip. Back inside, he descended to the library, the lantern casting shadows that danced like figures from his dreams. He'd stopped sleeping much, the nights too loud with whispers and screams. He ate sparingly, bread, apples, tea, each bite tasting of ash or metal. The manor's food was changing him, just like the air, the books, the stars. He sat at the table opening the Veil of Shadows. Its pages described a ritual to commune with the watchers, requiring a starlit night, a crystal from the chandelier, and blood. Elias shuddered. Blood again, like the portrait's paint. He decided to try something safer first. In the grande hall, The chandelier's crystals still lay scattered from its fall, some glowing faintly. He picked one up, its warmth spreading through his hand. A vision came. A desert of black sand under a sky of red stars, a figure with no face offering. A crown of light. The whispers sang, "Take it. Become." Elias dropped the crystal, gasping. He wrote, "Crystals hold visions, stars show truths. Dangerous." The day passed in a haze of chores. Elias swept the hall, the portraits watching silently. Eleanor. Thorne's face seemed softer now, almost pitying. He dusted shelves in the library, finding a new book, The Eyes of the Void. It described the stars as gateways, each a door to a watcher's domain. "When they align," it said, "the gates open, and the chosen hear." Elias was chosen, he knew that now. But chosen for what? At dusk, he returned to the roof. The stars were even brighter, forming a spiral that spun slowly, like a whirlpool, in the sky. He aimed the telescope, and the whispers roared. "Cthar'ul sees you." The name from the portrait, the name that burned in his mind. He saw a face in the stars, not human, but vast, with eyes like black holes and a mouth that stretched across galaxies. It spoke, its voice shaking his bones. "You are the key." Elias stumbled, the telescope falling. He scrambled down the hatch, locking it behind him. In the attic, he found a trunk he hadn't opened before. Inside were star charts, drawn by hand, marked with dates and symbols. One chart showed the alignment, dated days from now. Notes in Uncle Reginald's writing. Read, "The stars will scream. The portrait will open. Do not look too long." Elias's stomach twisted. He was running out of time. He spent the next day in the library, searching for a way to stop the alignment. The binding offered a hint, a ritual to seal the gate, using a crystal starlight and words of unmaking. But it warned, "The seal binds the sealer." Elias didn't care. He couldn't let Cthar'ul through, whatever it was. He collected more crystals from the hall, their glow stronger now. Each showed a different vision. A city of glass towers under a sky of fire. A sea of black water with eyes beneath. A figure of shadow offering knowledge that burned. Elias wrote, "Crystals are keys too. They show what the stars hide." That night he tried the ritual. In the grand hall under the regrown chandelier, he held a crystal and spoke words from the binding. "By star and shadow I close you." The crystal flared, the chandelier shook, and the portraits moaned. But the whispers laughed. Too late. Too weak. Elias dropped the crystal, which cracked but didn't break. The stars outside pulsed, their light flooding the hall. He dreamed that night of standing in the void, stars all around. They weren't just lights, they were beings, their eyes fixed on him. Cthar'ul appeared, its form shifting, tentacles, eyes, mouths, all at once. "You cannot stop us," it said. "You are ours." Elias woke, his scream blending with the manor's creaks. The next day, he explored the manor's grounds, hoping to clear his head. The garden was wilder now, vines climbing the walls, flowers blooming black and silver. He found a stone circle hidden in the trees, its rocks carved with the same symbols as the portrait's frame. When he stood in the center, the whispers sharpened. "Here, now, see." He saw a vision, the manor glowing under a sky of eyes, stars raining light that burned the earth. Back inside, he found a new room off the hall, its door unmarked. Inside, a telescope pointed at a mirror. He looked through it, seeing not his reflection but a starry void with Cthar'ul's face forming. The whispers chanted, "Open. Become." He smashed the telescope, but the mirror stayed whole, showing his face with black eyes. Elias stopped eating. The food tasted of stars now, filling him with visions he couldn't control. He drank only water, but even that tasted strange, like it came from a place not of earth. His notebook filled with frantic words. "Stars are alive. They want me. The manor is their voice." Mrs. Ellis came again, her face drawn. "You're gone," she said, handing him a loaf of bread. "The stars took you." Elias shook his head. "I'm still here. I have to fight." She left, muttering about curses. The nights grew worse. The stars screamed, their light piercing the manor's windows. Elias stood on the roof watching them form a face that stretched across the sky. The whispers were a song now, pulling him in. He saw visions of worlds beyond, planets of ice and fire, cities of bone, seas of light where shadows swam. Each vision left him weaker but wiser, his mind bursting with truths. Gravity was a lie, time a loop, life a speck in the void. He tried the ritual again, this time in the master bedroom before the portrait. He held a crystal, chanting, "By star and shadow, I bind you." The portrait screamed, its mouth wide, the stars in its background swirling. Elias saw Cthar'ul again, closer now, its eyes locked on his. The crystal shattered, cutting his hand. Blood dripped, and the portrait drank it, the paint glowing red. Elias fell, visions overwhelming him. The manor as a beacon, calling the watchers for centuries. His ancestors, each adding to the portrait, each losing their soul. The alignment, a moment when the gate would open fully. He wrote, "I am the gate. The stars are the key. Cthar'ul is coming." The manor changed around him. Doors led to starry voids, walls pulsed with light. The portraits sang, their voices blending with the whispers. Elias was no longer just a man. He was a thorn, a vessel, a bridge to the stars that watched back. As the alignment neared, the sky screamed, and Elias screamed with it, lost in the echoes of the night. Elias's days were a fight to stay human. He woke to frost on the windows, the manor colder each morning. He made fires with wood that sparked green, the smoke forming shapes, eyes, stars, faces. Breakfast was tea and bread, but the bread crumbled like dust, and the tea tasted of iron. He washed dishes, the sink's gurgle now a laugh. "Leave me alone," he muttered, but the manor didn't listen. Mornings, he searched the manor for answers. He found a hidden closet in the master bedroom, filled with star charts and tools, a sextant, a compass that pointed to the sky, a glass orb that glowed when touched. The orb showed him a vision, a throne of stars, a figure sitting, its face hidden but its voice clear. "You are mine." Elias dropped it, the glow fading. Afternoons he read in the library, books piling around him. The Watcher's Call described the alignment, a moment when stars formed a key, unlocking the gate. The manor was built to amplify it, a trap for the Watchers and for the Thorns. Elias found a letter from Eleanor Thorne. "I saw the stars. Eyes. They took my son. Do not look." His heart sank. Was this his fate? Evenings, he walked the grounds. The stone circle hummed now, its rocks warm. He stood in it, feeling the earth pulse. Visions came, a sky of fire, a city of shadows, a voice saying, "Open the gate." He ran back inside, locking the door. Nights were a battle. The whispers never stopped, chanting Cthar'ul's name. Elias tried earplugs, but the voices were in his head. He dreamed of the void, swimming among stars that bit like teeth. Cthar'ul spoke. "You cannot run. You are the key." He woke, checking his reflection. His eyes were black for a moment, then normal. He tried another ritual, using a crystal and words from the binding. In the hall, under the chandelier, he chanted, "By star and shadow I seal you." The crystals glowed, the portraits screamed, but the whispers mocked. "You are too small." The ritual failed, leaving him drained. The manor grew stranger. Rooms appeared with starry ceilings, floors of black glass. One had a mirror showing Elias with wings of shadow. He smashed it, but the shards sang. He wrote, "The manor is alive. It wants the alignment." Mrs. Ellis's last visit was brief. "You're not human anymore," she said, leaving a pie he didn't touch. Elias nodded. "I'm something else now." The stars screamed louder each night, their light filling the manor. Elias stood on the roof, watching them form Cthar'ul's face. The whispers promised knowledge, how to bend time, how to touch the stars. But the price was his soul. He faced the portrait one last time, its mouth wide, its eyes his own. The scream came, and he saw the truth. The stars were alive, the manor their voice, and he was their vessel. The alignment was coming, and Elias was ready, or doomed. Chapter 6. Shadows from the Deep. Elias. Thorne felt the manor breathe. It was December now, and Thorne Manor was no longer just a house. It was a living thing, its walls pulsing with secrets, its shadows crawling with intent. The air was thick, heavy with the scent of dust and something older, like the breath of a forgotten god. Elias's body was failing him. His hands shook, his hair was brittle and gray, his eyes burned with visions he couldn't unsee. The portrait of Uncle Reginald, with its starry eyes and screaming mouth, was the manor's heart, but the nights were its soul. And the nights were growing darker, deeper, pulling him towards something vast and hungry. He woke in the guest room, the cold biting his skin through thin blankets. His dreams had been a torment, a black ocean under a sky of writhing stars, waves rising into shapes with too many limbs, whispering his name in a chorus of voices that weren't human. He saw Cthar'ul, the Watcher, its form shifting, tentacles, eyes, mouths all at once stretching across the cosmos. It spoke, "You are mine." Elias gasped awake, his breath fogging in the icy air. The manor was colder now, as if winter itself was part of its plan. He shuffled to the kitchen, his steps slow. The routine kept him grounded. Boil water, make tea, eat bread from the pantry. But the bread crumbled like ash, and the tea tasted of salt and stars. He washed dishes, the sink gurgling like a throat. "Leave me alone," he muttered, but the manor answered with a creak, a whisper, a shadow moving where none should be. Elias was no longer alone. He hadn't been since he arrived 8 weeks ago. The manor was with him, inside him, changing him. Today, he decided to explore the manor's depths. The whispers had grown stronger, coming not just from the portrait or the grand hall, but from below, from places he hadn't dared to go. The basement called to him, its darkness promising answers or doom. He grabbed his lantern, a notebook, and a knife from the kitchen, its blade etched with a faint star symbol. He didn't know why he took it, but it felt right, like a shield against the shadows. The basement door was in the kitchen, heavy oak with iron bolts. It groaned as he opened it, releasing a damp, earthy smell that made his stomach turn. The stairs descended into darkness, each step creaking under his weight. The lantern's light barely pierced the gloom, casting shadows that twisted like living things. The air was thick, pressing against his chest, and the whispers were louder here, a low hum that vibrated in his bones. "Come. See. No. Adder." The bottom, the basement stretched wide, a maze of stone walls and wooden crates. Cobwebs hung like curtains, and the floor was slick with moss. Elias moved slowly, his lantern revealing shelves of jars, pickled fruits, or so he thought, until he saw one with something floating inside, a shape with too many eyes. He backed away, heart pounding. The whispers laughed, soft and cruel. He found a tunnel at the far end, its entrance hidden behind a crate. The walls were carved with symbols, stars, spirals, eyes, that glowed faintly in the lantern's light. Elias hesitated, then stepped inside. The tunnel sloped downward, the air growing colder, wetter. The whispers became a chant. Deep, deeper. The shadows wait. His notebook shook as he wrote, "Basement holds secrets. Tunnel leads to truth, or death." The tunnel ended in a chamber, its walls black stone, polished like mirrors. In the center was a pool of water, still as glass, reflecting no light. Elias approached, his reflection distorted, his face, but with black eyes and a mouth stretched wide. The whispers came from the pool, clear now. "Look, touch, become." He knelt, the knife trembling in his hand. He saw shapes in the Water. Shadows moving. Not reflections, but things, swimming in the deep. He touched the surface and a shock ran through him. Visions flooded his mind. A sea of black under a sky of fire, waves rising into towers, creatures with tentacles and eyes crawling toward him. Cthar'ul's voice boomed. "You see us. You are ours." Elias pulled back, gasping, the knife falling into the pool. It sank, and the water rippled, forming a face. Not his, not Reginald's, but something vast, ancient, hungry. He ran, the tunnel seeming longer, the whispers chasing him. Back in the basement, he slammed the crate over the entrance, but the voices followed, seeping through the walls. He climbed to the kitchen, barring the door. His notebook read, "Pool is a gate. Shadows live there. Cthar'ul is close." The day passed in a haze. Elias tried to stay busy, chopping wood in the yard, the axe heavy in his hands. The trees were twisted, their bark etched with symbols that matched the tunnel's walls. He found a stone in the garden, like the one in the hidden room, pulsing with a faint light. He left it, afraid to touch it. Lunch was an apple, its taste bitter, filling his head with flashes of starry voids. In the afternoon, he returned to the library seeking answers. He found a book, the deep ones, hidden behind a shelf. Its pages described a sea beyond Earth, a place where watchers slept, their shadows leaking into thin places like the manor. "The deep speaks," it said. "Its shadows climb when the stars align." Elias's heart sank. The alignment was near. Days away, he felt it in the air, the way the stars pulsed brighter each night. He found a letter in the book, written by a woman named Clara Thorne, 1790. "The basement pool is alive," she wrote. "I saw them, shadows that move, eyes that know. I tried to seal it, but the deep took my heart." Elias's hands shook. His ancestors had fought this before and lost. That evening, he stood in the grand hall, the chandelier's crystals glowing red. The portraits watched, their faces shifting. Some smiled, some screamed. Eleanor Thorne's eyes were wet, as if crying. Elias spoke to her. "What do I do?" The whispers answered, "Look, deeper." He felt the pool calling, its shadows reaching through the floor. At midnight, he tried a ritual from the binding. He stood in the hall, holding a crystal from the chandelier, chanting, "By star and shadow I seal the deep." The crystal flared, the portraits moaned, but the whispers laughed, "You cannot stop us." The crystal cracked, cutting his hand. Blood dripped, and the floor drank it, the stone glowing faintly. Elias dreamed that night of the pool. He stood in it, the water up to his chest, shadows wrapping around him like vines. Cthar'ul rose from the deep, its form too vast to see, its voice shaking his soul. "You are the gate." He woke, his clothes damp, the smell of salt in the air. The next day, he explored the basement again, driven by a need to understand. He avoided the tunnel, but found a new crate filled with journals. One, from Gideon Thorne, 1820, read, "The pool is a mirror to the deep. I threw in a crystal, and it showed me truths I cannot bear." Elias searched for crystals, finding one hidden in a jar. It glowed when he held it, showing a vision. A city under a black sea, its towers alive, its streets filled with shadows that sang his name. He tried the ritual again, this time in the basement. He tossed the crystal into the pool, chanting, "By star and shadow I close you." The water boiled, shadows rising, forming Cthar'ul's face. The whispers screamed, "You are too late." Elias ran, the shadows chasing, their touch cold on his skin. The manor was changing. Doors led to rooms of black water, walls pulsed with light. Elias found a new chamber off the hall, its floor a mirror reflecting stars. He saw himself, but with tentacles for arms, eyes like voids. He smashed the mirror, but the shards whispered, "You are us." Mrs. Ellis visited, her face pale. "You're drowning," she said, leaving bread he didn't eat. Elias nodded. "The deep is calling." She left, crossing herself. The nights were relentless. The stars screamed. their light flooding the manor. Elias stood by the pool, watching shadows move. He saw visions, worlds sinking into black seas, cities of bone crumbling, Cthar'ul rising, its eyes on him. The whispers promised knowledge, how to swim the void, how to speak to stars. But the price was his humanity. He faced the portrait, its mouth wide, its eyes his own. The scream came, blending with the pool's whispers. Elias wrote, "The deep is the manor's heart. The shadows are its blood. I'm their vessel." As the alignment neared, the manor shook, the pool's water rising. Elias stood in the basement, shadows wrapping him, the stars watching back. He was no longer just Elias Thorne. He was a bridge to the deep, and the shadows were coming. Elias's days were a fight to stay sane. He woke to frost on the walls, the manor colder than ever. He made fires with wood that burned blue, the smoke forming eyes that watched him. Breakfast was tea and apples, their taste sharp, filling his head with visions of black seas. He washed dishes, the sinks laughed louder now. "Stop it," he said, but the manor only creaked in reply. Mornings he searched the basement. He found jars with shapes that moved, tentacles, eyes, things that shouldn't be. One jar held a liquid that glowed, showing him a vision, a throne of shadows under a sea of stars. Cthar'ul sitting, its voice calling him. He dropped it, the glass cracking but not breaking. Afternoons, he read in the library, books piling. High. The shadow's call described the deep as a place where watchers slept, their dreams leaking into the world. The manor was a leak, a crack in reality. Elias found a letter from Amos Thorne. "I saw the pool's truth. It took my wife. Do not go near it." His heart raced. The deep had claimed so many. Evenings, he walked the grounds. The stone circle glowed now, its rocks humming. He stood in it, seeing visions. A sky of eyes, a sea of shadows, Cthar'ul rising. He ran inside, locking the door. Nights were a nightmare. The whispers chanted Cthar'ul's name, their voices in his blood. He dreamed of swimming in the pool, shadows pulling him down. Cthar'ul spoke, "You are the key." He woke, his skin damp, his hands shaking. He tried another ritual, using a crystal and words from the binding. In the basement he chanted, "By star and shadow I seal you." The pool boiled, shadows rising, their touch cold. The whispers mocked, "You are ours." The ritual failed, leaving him weak. The manor grew stranger. Rooms appeared with floors of water, walls of stars. One had a mirror showing Elias with a face of shadow. He smashed it, but the shards sang. He wrote, "The deep is alive. It wants me." Mrs. Ellis's last visit was short. "You're lost," she said, leaving a pie he ignored. Elias nodded. "I'm finding the truth." The stars screamed louder, their light piercing the manor. Elias stood by the pool, shadows wrapping him. He saw visions, planets drowning, cities of light falling, Cthar'ul's eyes everywhere. The whispers offered knowledge, how to walk the deep, how to become a star. But the price was his soul. He faced the portrait, its scream blending with the pool's song. Elias was no longer just a man. He was a thorn, a gate, a shadow from the deep. Chapter 7. The Hidden Diary. Elias Thorne sat in the library of Thorne Manor, surrounded by shadows that seemed to breathe. It was early December, and the air was thick with the scent of old paper and something darker, like the musk of forgotten graves. The manor was no longer just a house. It was a living entity, its walls whispering secrets, its floors creaking, with intent. Elias was worn thin, his body a shell of what it had been 9 weeks ago when he arrived to claim his inheritance. His hair was fully gray, his eyes hollow, his hands trembling with knowledge that burned his mind. The portrait of Uncle Reginald, with its starry eyes and screaming mouth, was the manor's heart, but the whispers were its voice, and they never stopped. He woke that morning in the guest room, the cold seeping through the blankets. His dreams had been a torment, a vast black void where stars pulsed like hearts, their light forming a face that wasn't human. Too many eyes, too many mouths, all chanting Cthar'ul. The name echoed in his skull as he sat up, his breath fogging in the icy air. The manor was colder now, as if it were preparing for something. The alignment was close. Days away, he could feel it in the way the stars screamed at night. Elias shuffled to the kitchen, his steps slow and heavy. He boiled water for tea, the kettle's whistle sharp, like a cry cut short. He ate bread from the pantry, its taste bitter, like ash mixed with starlight. The apples from the cellar were worse, their flesh soft and sweet, but leaving a metallic tang that sparked visions of black seas and writhing shadows. He washed dishes, the sink gurgling like a laugh. "Stop it," he muttered, but the manor only creaked in reply, its voice mocking. Today, he decided to search the library more thoroughly. The books had given him fragments of truth about the Watchers, the alignment, the portrait. But he needed more. The whispers had grown clearer, urging him to find the words, find the truth. He felt they meant something hidden, something his ancestors left behind. Armed with his lantern, a notebook, and a knife etched with a star symbol, he entered the library, its shelves looming like sentinels. The library was vast, its ceiling lost in shadow, its air heavy with dust. Elias lit the lantern, its glow revealing rows of leather-bound books, their titles glinting, the starry veil, the deep ones, the eyes of the void. He'd read many, but the manor always seemed to offer more, as if it hid its secrets until the right moment. He started at the far end, pulling books, checking for loose pages or hidden compartments. Hours passed, his fingers black with dust, his eyes aching. Nothing new. Then, behind a shelf, he found a loose panel in the wall. His heart quickened. He pried it open with the knife, revealing a small alcove. Inside was a single book, its cover black leather, cracked and worn with no title. He opened it, and the whispers surged, a chorus in his head. Read, know, become. It was a diary, written in different hands, each entry dated years apart. The first was from Elias Thorne, 1782. Elias sat at the table, the lantern casting flickering light. Eleanor's words were shaky. The manor is alive. It speaks through the stars, through the portrait. I found the book, the old one, bound, in skin. It taught me to paint, to trap the voice. But it trapped me too. The diary is our confession, our warning. Do not trust the whispers. Elias's stomach twisted. He turned the pages, finding entries from other Thornes. Amos, 1801. Clara, 1790. Gideon, 1820. Each wrote of the manor, the portrait, the watchers. Gideon's entry was the longest. I added to the portrait, used my blood as the book demanded. The stars aligned, and Cthar'ul spoke. It showed me truths, worlds beyond. Seas of light, cities of shadow. But it took my mind. I hid this diary so the next might know. The manor chooses us, one by one, to open the gate. Elias's hands shook. The last entry was Reginald's, dated 1975. I tried to end it. I burned the book, but the portrait screamed. It's in me now. Elias, if you read this, run. Elias slammed the diary shut, his heart pounding. The manor had chosen him, just as it chose his ancestors. He wrote in his notebook, "Diary is the key. It knows the portrait's truth. Cthar'ul wants me." The whispers laughed, soft and cruel, as if the diary itself spoke. He spent the day reading the diary, each entry a piece of the puzzle. Clara wrote of the basement pool, how she threw a crystal into it to seal the shadows, but they took her, daughter. Amos described the stone circle in the garden, a place where the stars' voices were loudest. Eleanor warned of the alignment. When the stars form the eye of the void, the gate opens. The chosen becomes the bridge. Elias checked. A star chart from the attic. The alignment was tomorrow. He decided to act. The diary mentioned a ritual to unmake the gate, using blood, a crystal, and words from the old book. But Reginald wrote that the book was gone, burned. Elias had only the diary's fragments to guide him. He collected a crystal from the grand hall, its glow warm in his hand. A vision came, a throne of stars, Cthar'ul sitting, its eyes on him. He dropped the crystal, gasping. That evening, he stood in the grand hall, the chandelier pulsing red. The portraits watched, their faces shifting. Some smiled, some wept. Eleanor's eyes were bright, pleading. Elias spoke to her. "I found your diary. Tell me what to do." The whispers answered, "Blood, crystal, words." He felt the diary's weight in his pocket, its pages burning his mind. At midnight, he tried the ritual. In the master bedroom, before the portrait, he held the crystal and cut his palm with the knife. Blood dripped, and the portrait glowed, its mouth wide. He read from the diary, Eleanor's words, "By star and shadow, I unmake you." The crystal flared, the portrait screamed, and the manor shook. Shadows rose from the floor, wrapping around him cold as ice. Cthar'ul's voice boomed, "You are too late." Elias fell, the crystal shattering, his blood pooling on the floor. He dreamed that night of the void, standing on a shore of black sand, stars above forming Cthar'ul's face. It spoke. "The diary is ours. You are ours." He woke. His hand, still bleeding, the diary opened beside him, new words written in his own hand. "I am the gate." The next day, Elias searched for the old book, hoping Reginald lied about burning it. He tore through the library, knocking over shelves, finding nothing. In the basement, he checked the tunnel, its walls glowing brighter now. The pool was alive, its water rippling, shadows swimming. He threw a stone into it, and the whispers screamed, "You cannot hide." He returned to the diary, reading again. Clara's entry mentioned a hidden room behind the portrait. Elias ran to the master bedroom, feeling along the wall. A panel clicked, revealing a small chamber. Inside was a pedestal with a single object, a shard of black glass, pulsing like the stone in the hidden room. He touched it, and visions flooded him. A city of bone under a sea of stars, shadows singing his name, Cthar'ul rising. The whispers chanted, "You are the key." Elias staggered back, the shard in his hand. He wrote, "Shard is part of the gate. Diary is the map. I'm running out of time." The manor was changing. Doors led to starry voids. Walls bled black water. He found a new room off the hall, its floor a mirror showing him with Cthar'ul's face. He smashed it, but the shards whispered, "You are us." Mrs. Ellis came, her face pale. "You're gone," she said, leaving bread he didn't touch. Elias nodded. "I'm fighting." She left, muttering prayers. The alignment was tomorrow. The stars screamed, their light piercing the manor. Elias stood in the stone circle, feeling the earth pulse. Visions came, worlds drowning, cities of light falling, Thorne's eyes everywhere. The diary's words burned in his mind. The chosen becomes the bridge. He faced the portrait, its scream blending with the stars' song. Elias was no longer just a man. He was a thorn, a vessel, a shadow from the deep. And the diary was his confession. Elias's days were a desperate fight. He woke to frost on the walls, the manor colder than ever. He made fires with wood that burned green, the smoke-forming eyes that stared. Breakfast was tea and apples, their taste sharp, sparking visions of black seas. He washed dishes, the sink's laugh louder now. "Leave me be," he said, but the manor creaked back. Mornings, he searched the library. He found journals hidden, in alcoves each with warnings. One from Elias Thorne, 1840, read, "The diary is a trap. It binds you to the manor." Elias ignored it, reading more. The diary's pages were alive, their words shifting, showing new truths. The manor was a beacon, the portrait a lock, the diary a key. Afternoons, he explored the manor. He found a closet in the hall, filled with star charts and tools, a sextant that pointed to the sky, a compass that spun wildly, a glass orb that glowed. The orb showed him a vision, a throne of shadows, Cthar'ul calling. He dropped it, the glow fading. Evenings. He walked the grounds. The stone circle hummed, its rocks warm. He stood in it, seeing visions. A sky of fire, a sea of shadows. Cthar'ul. Rising. He ran inside, locking the door. Nights were a nightmare. The whispers chanted Cthar'ul's name, their voices in his blood. He dreamed of the pool, shadows pulling him down. Cthar'ul spoke, "You are the gate." He woke, his skin damp, his hands shaking. He tried another ritual, using the shard and words from the diary. In the hidden room, he chanted, "By star and shadow, I seal you." The shard glowed. The portrait screamed, shadows rising. The whispers mocked, "You are ours." The ritual failed, leaving him weak. The manor grew stranger. Rooms appeared with floors of water, walls of stars. One had a mirror showing Elias with tentacles for arms. He smashed it, but the shards sang. He wrote, "The diary is alive. It wants the alignment." Mrs. Ellis's last visit was brief. "You're lost," she said, leaving a pie he ignored. Elias nodded. "I'm finding the truth." The stars screamed louder, their light flooding the manor. Elias stood by the portrait, the diary open, its words his own. The alignment was coming, and he was the bridge, bound by the hidden diaries. Chapter 8. Dreams of Endless Void. Elias. Thorne no longer knew where the manor ended, and he began. It was mid-December, and Thorne Manor was a living labyrinth, its walls pulsing with secrets, its air thick with the scent of dust and something ancient, like the breath of stars. The portrait of Uncle Reginald, with its starry eyes and screaming mouth, was the manor's heart. But the dreams were its mind, pulling Elias into a void he couldn't escape. His body was frail, hair gray, skin pale, hands trembling with knowledge that burned his soul. 10 weeks had passed since he arrived to claim his cursed inheritance, and the manor had claimed him instead. He woke in the guest room, the cold biting through his thin blanket. His dreams had been relentless, a vast black void where stars spun like eyes, their light forming a face too big to comprehend. Cthar'ul, the Watcher, its tentacles coiling, its mouths whispering his name. He saw himself standing on a shore of black glass, the void stretching forever, its voice booming, "You are the bridge." Elias gasped awake, his breath fogging in the icy air. The manor was colder now, as if it were preparing for the alignment, now mere days away. He shuffled to the kitchen, his steps heavy, like walking through water. Routine kept him tethered. Boil water, make tea, eat bread from the pantry. But the bread tasted of ash, and the tea was sharp, like liquid starlight, sparking visions of black seas and writhing shadows. He washed dishes, the sink gurgling like a chuckle. "Leave me alone," he muttered, but the manor creaked back, its voice mocking. The whispers were constant now, weaving through his thoughts. Dream, see, become. Today, Elias decided to face his dreams. The diary he'd found, written by Eleanor, Amos, Clara, Gideon, and Reginald, warned of the void, a place where the Watchers lived, leaking into the manor through dreams. The portrait was a gate, the manor a beacon, but his dreams were a path, leading him to truths he wasn't sure he could bear. He grabbed his lantern, notebook, and the black shard from the hidden room behind the portrait, its pulse warm in his hand. He needed answers, and the dreams held them. Elias spent the morning in the library, its shelves looming like judges. The lantern's glow revealed books he'd read a dozen times, The Starry Veil, The Deep Ones, The Eyes of the Void. But he searched for something new, something about dreams. Behind a shelf, he found a thin book, its cover faded, titled The Dreamer's Path. Its pages were brittle, written in a spidery hand. The void speaks through dreams. The chosen see the Watchers, learn their truths, but pay with their soul. Elias's heart sank. The book described a ritual to enter the void willingly, using a shard, blood, and a mirror under starlight. He hesitated. The shard in his pocket hummed, and the whispers urged, "Try, see, know." He decided to prepare. In the grand hall, the chandelier's crystals glowed red, pulsing like a heart. The portraits watched, their faces shifting. Eleanor's eyes wept, Gideon's mouth grinned. Elias spoke to them. "What do I do?" The whispers answered, "Dream, open, become." He found a mirror in a side room, its frame carved with stars. He set it up in the master bedroom, before the portrait. The shard glowed brighter, and the portrait's mouth opened wider, as if ready to scream. Elias cut his palm with the knife, blood dripping onto the shard. He stood before the mirror, chanting words from the dreamer's path. "By star and shadow I enter the void." The mirror rippled, showing not his reflection but a starry expanse, with Cthar'ul's face forming. The whispers roared, "Come, see." Elias's vision blurred, and he was pulled into the dream. He stood in the void, stars all around, their light cold and sharp. The ground was black glass, cracking under his feet. Cthar'ul loomed, its form shifting. Tentacles, eyes, mouths, all at once. It spoke. "You are the bridge. Open the gate." Elias tried to speak, but his voice was gone. He saw visions, worlds burning under skies of fire, seas of black water swallowing cities, shadows singing his name. The void was endless, its truths crushing. Time was a lie, space a cage, life a flicker in the watcher's gaze. He woke on the floor, the shard hot in his hand, the mirror cracked. His notebook was open, filled with words he didn't remember. Writing, "The void is alive. It knows me. I am its voice." The portrait stared, its eyes his own. Elias's head throbbed with knowledge. How to bend light, how to walk between stars, how to end worlds. But the price was his humanity. The day passed in a haze. Elias tried to stay busy, chopping wood in the yard, the axe heavy. The trees were twisted, their bark carved with eyes that blinked. He found a stone in the garden, pulsing like the shard. He left it, afraid of its power. Lunch was an apple, its taste sparking visions of the void. He wrote, "The manor feeds me dreams. The shard is the key." In the afternoon, he returned to the library, reading The Dreamer's Path again. It warned, "The void claims the dreamer. To return, you must reject the watcher." Elias didn't know how. The diary's entries echoed the book. Clara wrote, "Of dreaming the void, seeing her daughter trapped in a city of shadows." Reginald wrote of trying to wake, but the void held him. Elias's heart raced. Was he already lost? That evening, he walked the grounds. The stone circle in the garden hummed, its rocks glowing. He stood in it, seeing visions. A sky of eyes, a sea of stars, Cthar'ul rising. He ran inside, locking the door. The manor was changing. Doors led to rooms of black glass. Walls pulsed with starlight. He found a new chamber off the hall, its floor a mirror showing him with Cthar'ul's face. He smashed it, but the shards whispered, "You are us." At midnight, he tried the ritual again. In the master bedroom, he held the shard and chanted, "By star and shadow, I reject you." The mirror glowed, the portrait screamed, and the void pulled him in. He stood on a cliff of black stone, stars screaming above. Cthar'ul spoke, "You cannot reject us. You are the gate." Elias fought, shouting, "I'm Elias Thorne." The void shook, but didn't release him. He woke, bleeding, the shard burning his hand. His dreams grew worse. He saw himself walking the void, stars bowing to him, Cthar'ul offering a crown of light. "Join us," it said. He woke, his skin damp, the smell of salt in the air. The manor was alive, its whispers now a song. Dream, become, open. The next day, Elias searched for a way to fight. He found a letter in the diary from Amos. "I dreamed the void and saw the truth. The shard binds you to it. Destroy it." Elias tried, smashing the shard with a hammer, but it didn't break. He threw it into the basement pool, but it floated, back glowing brighter. The whispers laughed. "You cannot escape." Mrs. Ellis came, her face pale. "You're gone," she said, leaving bread he ignored. Elias nodded. I'm dreaming the truth." She left, muttering prayers. The alignment was tomorrow. The stars screamed, their light flooding the manor. Elias stood in the stone circle, visions overwhelming, planets drowning, cities of bone crumbling, Cthar'ul's eyes everywhere. The diary's words burned. The dreamer becomes the bridge. He faced the portrait, its scream blending with the void's song. Elias was no longer just a man. He was a thorn, a vessel, a dream of the endless void, and the stars were watching. Elias's days were a desperate struggle. He woke to frost on the walls, the manor colder than ever. He made fires with wood that burned blue, the smoke forming eyes that stared. Breakfast was tea and apples, their taste sharp, sparking visions of starry voids. He washed dishes, the sink's laugh louder now. "Stop it," he said, but the manor creaked back. Mornings, he searched the manor. He found a closet in the hall filled with star charts and tools, a sextant that pointed to the sky, a compass that spun wildly, a glass orb that glowed. The orb showed a vision, a throne of shadows, Cthar'ul calling. He dropped it, the glow fading. Afternoons, he read in the library, books piling high. The dreamer's path described the void as a sea of thought, where watchers swam, their dreams leaking into the world. The manor was a leak, a crack in reality. Elias found a letter from Eleanor. "I dreamed the void and saw my son. Do not sleep." His heart raced. The void was claiming him. Evenings, he walked the grounds. The stone circle glowed, its rocks warm. He stood in it, seeing visions, a sky of fire, a sea of shadows, Cthar'ul rising. He ran inside, locking the door. Nights were a nightmare. The whispers chanted Cthar'ul's name, their voices in his blood. He dreamed of swimming in the void, stars pulling him down. Cthar'ul spoke, "You are the gate." He woke, his skin damp, his hands shaking. He tried another ritual, using the shard and words from the diary. In the hidden room he chanted, "By star and shadow, I reject you." The shard glowed, the portrait screamed, shadows rising, the whispers mocked, "You are ours." The ritual failed, leaving him weak. The manor grew stranger. Rooms appeared with floors of glass, walls of stars. One had a mirror showing Elias with tentacles for arms. He smashed it, but the shards sang. He wrote, "The void is alive. It wants me." Mrs. Ellis's last visit was brief. "You're lost," she said, leaving a pie he ignored. Elias nodded. "I'm finding the truth." The stars screamed louder, their light piercing the manor. Elias stood by the portrait, the diary open, its words his own. The alignment was coming, and he was the bridge, bound by the dreams of the endless void. Chapter 9. The Call from Beyond Elias. Thorne stood in the grand hall of Thorne Manor, the air thick with the weight of unseen eyes. It was mid-December, and the manor was no longer just a house. It was a living wound in the fabric of reality, its walls pulsing with the rhythm of a distant cosmos. The portrait of Uncle Reginald, with its starry eyes and screaming mouth, was the manor's beating heart, but the whispers were its breath, calling Elias to a truth he could neither escape nor fully grasp. His body was a shadow of itself, hair gray and brittle, skin pale as moonlight, eyes burning with visions that left him trembling. 11 weeks had passed since he arrived to claim his cursed inheritance, and the manor had woven itself into his soul. He woke that morning in the guest room, the cold clawing at his bones. His dreams had been a descent into madness, a void of swirling stars, their light forming a vast face. Cthar'ul, the Watcher, its tentacles coiling across galaxies, its mouths chanting his name in a language older than time. He saw himself standing on a cliff of black stone, the void below alive with shadows that reached for him. Cthar'ul's voice shook the stars. "You are the key." Elias gasped awake, his breath a white cloud in the icy air. The manor was colder now, as if the alignment, now hours away, was drawing all warmth into the cosmos. He shuffled to the kitchen, his steps heavy, like wading through a dream. Routine was his only anchor. Boil water, make tea, eat bread from the pantry. But the bread crumbled like dust, and the tea tasted of salt and starlight, sparking visions of black seas and writhing forms. He washed dishes, the sink gurgling like a throat swallowing his fears. "Leave me be," he whispered, but the manor creaked back, its whispers louder. "Hear. Answer. Come." Today, Elias knew he had to face the call. The diary, written by Eleanor, Amos, Clara, Gideon, and Reginald, had warned of the alignment, a moment when the stars formed the eye of the void, opening the gate. The portrait was the lock, the manor the beacon, and Elias the key. The whispers had grown into a voice, clear and commanding, urging him to answer the call from beyond. He felt it in his blood, a pull toward something vast and terrible. Armed with his lantern, notebook, and the black shard from the hidden room, he set out to understand, or fight, the call. The morning was spent in the library, its shelves looming like silent judges. The lantern's glow revealed books he'd read until his eyes bled. The Starry Veil, the Deep Ones, the Dreamer's Path. But he needed more, something to stop the alignment. Behind a shelf, he found a new book, its cover cracked leather, titled The Call of the Watchers. Its pages were brittle, written in a trembling hand. The call comes when the stars align. The chosen hears it, feels it, becomes it. To answer is to open the gate. To resist is to lose all. Elias's heart sank. The book described a ritual to answer the call, using blood, a shard, and a name spoken under starlight. He hesitated, the shard pulsing in his pocket. The whispers urged, "Speak, answer, join." He decided to prepare, but not to answer, not yet. He needed to resist. In the grand hall, the chandelier's crystals glowed red, pulsing like a heartbeat. The portraits watched, their faces shifting. Eleanor's eyes pleaded, Gideon's grinned, Reginald screamed. Elias spoke to them. "I won't answer, I'll fight." The whispers laughed. "You cannot fight the stars." He found a telescope in a closet smaller than the one on the roof. He set it up in the master bedroom, aiming at the window. The stars were brighter now, forming a spiral that spun like a whirlpool. He looked through the lens, and the whispers roared, "Cthar'ul calls you." He saw a face in the stars, not human, but vast, its eyes like black holes, its mouth stretching across the sky. It spoke, "Answer me." Elias stumbled back, the telescope falling. He wrote, "Stars are calling. Thorne knows my name." The day passed in a blur of fear and purpose. Elias chopped wood in the yard, the axe heavy, the trees bark, carved with eyes that blinked. He found a stone in the garden, pulsing like the shard. He left it, its warmth too much like the manor's touch. Lunch was an apple, its taste sparking visions of a city under a black sea, its towers alive with shadows. He wrote, "The call is in everything, food, air, stars." In the afternoon, he returned to the library, reading The Call of the Watchers. Again, it warned, "The call binds the chosen to the watcher. To resist, burn the shard under starlight." Elias clutched the shard, its pulse matching his own. He found a letter in the diary from Clara. "I heard the call and answered. It took my heart. Do not speak the name." His hands shook. He'd already spoken Cthar'ul's name, felt its weight. At dusk, he stood in the stone circle in the garden, the rocks glowing. The stars above formed the eye of the void, its light piercing his soul. The whispers chanted, "Answer, become." He saw a vision, a throne of stars, Cthar'ul sitting, its tentacles reaching for him. He ran inside, locking the door. At midnight, he tried to resist. In the master bedroom, before the portrait, he held the shard and a candle. He chanted words from the call of the watchers. "By star and shadow, I reject you." The shard glowed. The portrait screamed, and the manor shook. Shadows rose from the floor, cold and grasping. Cthar'ul's voice boomed. "You cannot reject me." Elias dropped the shard, which cracked but didn't break. Blood dripped from his hand and the portrait drank it, its paint glowing red. He dreamed that night of the void, standing on a shore of black glass, stars screaming above. Cthar'ul loomed, its form shifting, eyes, mouths, tentacles. It spoke, "Answer, and know all." Elias tried to run, but the void held him. He saw visions, worlds burning, seas of light swallowing cities, shadows singing his name. The call was a song, pulling him deeper. He woke, his skin damp, the smell of salt in the air. The diary was open, new words in his hand. "I hear the call." The next day, Elias searched for a way to fight. He found a hidden drawer in the library, containing a star chart marked with the alignment's date, tonight. Reginald's notes read, "I answered the call, and it took me. Elias, burn the shard." He tried, holding the shard over a fire, but it didn't burn. He threw it into the basement pool, but it floated back, glowing brighter. The whispers laughed, "You are ours." The manor was changing. Doors led to rooms of starry voids, walls bled black water. He found a new chamber off the hall, its floor a mirror showing him with Cthar'ul's face. He smashed it, but the shards whispered, "Answer, become." Elias wrote, "The call is the manor's voice. I'm losing." Mrs. Ellis came, her face pale. "You're gone," she said, leaving bread he ignored. Elias nodded. "The stars are calling." She left, muttering prayers. The alignment was tonight. The stars screamed, their light flooding the manor. Elias stood in the stone circle, visions overwhelming. Planets drowning, cities of bone crumbling. Thorne's eyes everywhere. The diary's words burned. The chosen answers the call. He faced the portrait, its scream blending with the star's song. Elias was no longer just a man. He was a thorn, a vessel, a bridge to the call from beyond, and the stars were waiting. Elias's days were a desperate fight to stay himself. He woke to frost on the walls, the manor colder than ever. He made fires with wood that burned blue, the smoke-forming eyes that stared. Breakfast was tea and apples, their taste sharp, sparking visions of starry seas. He washed dishes, the sink's laugh louder now. "Stop it," he said, but the manor creaked back. Mornings, he searched the manor. He found a closet in the hall, filled with star charts and tools, a sextant that pointed to the sky, a compass that spun wildly, a glass orb that glowed. The orb showed a vision, a throne of shadows, Cthar'ul calling. He dropped it, the glow fading. Afternoons he read in the library, books piling high. The call of the Watchers described the alignment as a moment when the gate opened, the chosen becoming the bridge. Elias found a letter from Gideon. "I answered the call and saw the void. Do not speak the name." His heart raced. He'd spoken Cthar'ul's name too many times. Evenings, he walked the grounds. The stone circle glowed, its rocks warm. He stood in it, seeing visions, a sky of fire, a sea of shadows, Cthar'ul rising. He ran inside, locking the door. Nights were a nightmare. The whispers chanted Cthar'ul's name, their voices in his blood. He dreamed of swimming in the void, stars pulling him down. Cthar'ul spoke. "Answer me." He woke, his skin damp, his hands shaking. He tried another ritual, using the shard and words from the diary. In the hidden room, he chanted, "By star and shadow, I reject you." The shard glowed, the portrait screamed, shadows rising. The whispers mocked. "You are ours." The ritual failed, leaving him weak. The manor grew stranger. Rooms appeared with floors of glass, walls of stars. One had a mirror showing Elias, with tentacles for arms. He smashed it, but the shards sang. He wrote, "The call is alive. It wants me." Mrs. Ellis's last visit was brief. "You're lost," she said, leaving a pie he ignored. Elias nodded. "I'm hearing the truth." The stars screamed louder, their light piercing the manor. Elias stood by the portrait, the diary open, its words his own. The alignment was tonight, and he was the bridge, bound by the call from beyond. Chapter 10. Breaking the Veil. Elias Thorne stood in the heart of Thorne Manor, the grand hall a cathedral of shadows and starlight. It was December 15th, and the air was heavy with the weight of the cosmos, as if the manor itself was breathing in time with the stars. The portrait of Uncle Reginald, with its starry eyes and screaming mouth, was no longer just a painting. It was a gate, pulsing with the power of the alignment, now mere hours away. Elias was a wreck, his hair white as frost, his skin pale as bone, his eyes burning with visions that tore at his soul. 12 weeks had passed since he arrived to claim his cursed inheritance, and the manor had claimed him instead, weaving him into its tapestry of secrets. He woke that morning in the guest room, the cold so sharp it felt like knives. His dreams had been a descent into the void, a sea of black stars, their light forming Cthar'ul's face, its tentacles coiling across the sky, its mouths chanting his name in a language that broke his mind. He saw himself standing on a bridge of glass, the void below alive with shadows that whispered, "Break the veil." Elias gasped awake, his breath a cloud in the icy air. The manor was a furnace of cosmic energy, its walls humming, its shadows moving like living things. He shuffled to the kitchen, his steps slow, as if the manor's weight pressed him down. Routine was his last tether. Boil water, make tea, eat bread from the pantry. But the bread tasted of dust, and the tea was sharp like liquid starlight, sparking visions of cities sinking into black seas. He washed dishes, the sink gurgling, like a laugh. "Stop it," he whispered. But the manor creaked back, its whispers louder. "Break. Open. Become." The alignment was tonight, and Elias knew he was running out of time. Today he decided to face the veil. The diary, written by Eleanor, Amos, Clara, Gideon, and Reginald, had spoken of a veil between worlds, a thin barrier that the manor weakened and the portrait pierced. The whispers had grown into a command. Break the veil. Elias felt it in his blood, a pull toward something vast and terrible. Armed with his lantern, notebook, the black shard from the hidden room, and the star-etched knife, he set out to stop or answer the call. The morning was spent in the library, its shelves looming like silent judges. The lantern's glow revealed books he'd read until his eyes bled. The Starry Veil, The Call of the Watchers, The Dreamer's Path. He searched for something new, something to break the veil or seal it. Behind a shelf, he found a book, its cover black and cracked, titled The Veil's End. Its pages were brittle, written in a shaking hand. The veil is the boundary between worlds. The chosen can break it, letting the watchers through, or seal it at great cost. Blood, shard, and starlight are needed. Elias's heart sank. The book described a ritual to break or seal the veil using the shard, blood, and a mirror under the aligned stars. He hesitated, the shard pulsing in his pocket. The whispers urged, "Break, join, no." He decided to prepare but to seal, not break. He needed to resist Cthar'ul. In the grand hall, the chandelier's crystals glowed red, pulsing like a heart. The portraits watched, their faces shifting. Eleanor's eyes wept, Gideon's grinned, Reginald screamed. Elias spoke to them. "I'll stop it. I won't. Let it through." The whispers laughed. "You are the gate." He found a mirror in a side room, its frame carved with stars. He set it up in the master bedroom before the portrait. The shard glowed brighter, and the portrait's mouth opened wider, as if ready to scream. Elias cut his palm with the knife, blood dripping onto the shard. He stood before the mirror, chanting words from the veil's end. "By star and shadow, I seal the veil." The mirror rippled, showing a starry void, Cthar'ul's face forming. The whispers roared, "Break it! Become it!" Elias's vision blurred, and he was pulled into the void. He stood on a bridge of black glass, stars screaming above. Cthar'ul loomed, its form shifting. Tentacles, eyes, mouths, all at once. It spoke, "Break the veil and know all." Elias saw visions, worlds burning, seas of light swallowing cities, shadows singing his name. The veil was thin, a shimmering curtain between him and the watcher. He shouted, "I seal you!" The void shook, but the whispers laughed. "You are too weak." He woke on the floor, the shard burning his hand, the mirror cracked. His notebook was open, filled with words he didn't remember writing. "The dew veil is breaking. I am the key." The portrait stared, its eyes his own. Elias's head throbbed with knowledge. How to tear space, how to speak to stars, how to end worlds. But the price was his soul. The day passed in a haze of fear and purpose. Elias chopped wood in the yard, the axe heavy, the tree's bark carved with eyes that blinked. He found a stone in the garden, pulsing like the shard. He left it, its warmth too much like the manor's touch. Lunch was an apple, its taste sparking visions of a city under a black sea, its towers alive with shadows. He wrote, "The veil is the manor's heart, the shard is the key." In the afternoon, he returned to the library, reading the veil's end again. It warned, "To seal the veil, the chosen must give their blood and will. To break it, they give their soul." Elias found a letter in the diary from Reginald. "I tried to seal the veil, but the portrait screamed. Elias, you must finish it." His hand shook. He'd already bled too much. At dusk, he stood in the stone circle in the garden, the rocks glowing. The stars above formed the eye of the void, its light piercing his soul. The whispers chanted, "Break, become." He saw a vision, a throne of stars, Cthar'ul sitting, its tentacles reaching for him. He ran inside, locking the door. At midnight, he tried the ritual again. In the master bedroom, before the portrait, he held the shard and chanted, "By star and shadow I seal you." The mirror glowed, the portrait screamed, and the manor shook. Shadows rose from the floor, cold and grasping. Cthar'ul's voice boomed, "Break it or be broken." Elias fought, shouting, "I'm Elias Thorne." The shard flared, the mirror shattered, and blood poured from his hand, the portrait drinking it, its paint glowing red. He dreamed that night of the void, standing on a cliff of black stone, stars screaming above. Cthar'ul loomed, its form shifting. It spoke, "Break the veil and be free." Elias saw visions, planets drowning, cities of bone crumbling, shadows singing his name. The veil was a curtain, shimmering, ready to tear. He woke, his skin damp, the smell of salt in the air. The diary was open, new words in his hand. "I am the gate." The next day, Elias searched for a way to seal the veil. He found a hidden drawer in the library, containing a star chart marked with the alignment. Tonight, Reginald's notes read, "The veil breaks when the stars scream. Elias, use the shard." He tried burning the shard, but it didn't burn. He threw it into the basement pool, but it floated back, glowing brighter. The whispers laughed, "You are ours." The manor was changing. Doors led to rooms of starry voids. Walls bled black water. He found a new chamber off the hall, its floor a mirror showing him with Cthar'ul's face. He smashed it, but the shards whispered, "Break, become." Elias wrote, "The veil is the manor's soul. I'm losing." Mrs. Ellis came, her face pale. "You're gone," she said, leaving bread he ignored. Elias nodded. "The stars are breaking me." She left, muttering prayers. The alignment was tonight. The stars screamed, their light flooding the manor. Elias stood in the stone circle, visions overwhelming, planets drowning, cities of light falling, Cthar'ul's eyes everywhere. The diaries, words burned. The chosen breaks the veil. He faced the portrait, its scream blending with the stars' song. Elias was no longer just a man. He was a thorn, a vessel, a bridge to the call from beyond, and the veil was breaking. Elias's days were a desperate fight to stay human. He woke to frost on the walls, the manor colder than ever. He made fires with wood that burned blue, the smoke forming eyes that stared. Breakfast was tea and apples, their taste sharp, sparking visions of starry seas. He washed dishes, the sinks laughed louder now, "Stop it," he said, but the manor creaked back. Mornings, he searched the manor. He found a closet in the hall, filled with star charts and tools, a sextant that pointed to the sky, a compass that spun wildly, a glass orb that glowed. The orb showed a vision, a throne of shadows, Cthar'ul calling. He dropped it, the glow fading. Afternoons, he read in the library, books piling high. The veil's end described the alignment as a moment when the veil tore, the chosen becoming, the gate. Elias found a letter from Eleanor. "I tried to seal the veil, but it took my son. Do not break it." His heart raced. He'd come too close. Evenings, he walked the grounds. The stone circle glowed, its rocks warm. He stood in it, seeing visions, a sky of fire, a sea of shadows, Cthar'ul rising. He ran inside, locking the door. Nights were a nightmare. The whispers chanted Cthar'ul's name, their voices in his blood. He dreamed of swimming in the void, stars pulling him down. Cthar'ul spoke. "Break the veil." He woke, his skin damp, his hands shaking. He tried another ritual, using the shard and words from the diary. In the hidden room, he chanted, "By star and shadow, I seal you." The shard glowed, the portrait screamed, shadows rising. The whispers mocked, "You are ours." The ritual failed, leaving him weak. The manor grew stranger. Rooms appeared with floors of glass, walls of stars. One had a mirror showing Elias with tentacles for arms. He smashed it, but the shards sang. He wrote, "The veil is alive. It wants me." Mrs. Ellis's last visit was brief. "You're lost," she said, leaving a pie he ignored. Elias nodded. "I'm fighting the truth." The stars screamed louder, their light piercing the manor. Elias stood by the portrait, the diary open, its words his own. The alignment was tonight, and he was the bridge, bound to break the veil. Chapter 11. The Last Scream. Elias. Thorne stood in the master bedroom of Thorne Manor, the air thick with the weight of 1,000 unseen eyes. It was December 15th, midnight, and the alignment of the stars was upon him. The manor was no longer a house, but a living wound in reality, its walls pulsing with the rhythm of the cosmos, its shadows writhing like living things. The portrait of Uncle Reginald, with its starry eyes and screaming mouth, was the gate's heart, but the screams were its voice, and tonight they would reach their peak. Elias was a ghost of himself, hair white as frost, skin pale as bone, eyes burning with visions that shredded his soul. 12 weeks had passed since he arrived to claim his cursed inheritance, and the manor had woven him into its cosmic trap. He woke that morning in the guest room, the cold so sharp it felt like teeth. His dreams had been a descent into oblivion, a void of black stars, their light forming Cthar'ul's face, its tentacles coiling across galaxies, its mouths chanting his name in a language that broke his mind. He saw himself on a bridge of black glass, the void below alive with shadows that screamed, "Open the gate." Elias gasped awake, his breath a cloud in the icy air. The manor was a furnace of cosmic energy, its walls humming, its shadows clawing at him. The alignment was tonight, and he knew this was his last chance to fight or surrender. He shuffled to the kitchen, his steps heavy, as if the manor's gravity had doubled. Routine was his only tether. Boil water, make tea, eat bread from the pantry. But the bread crumbled like ash, and the tea tasted of salt and starlight, sparking visions of cities drowning in black seas. He washed dishes, the sink gurgling like a throat swallowing his fears. "Leave me be," he whispered, but the manor creaked back, its whispers louder. "Scream, open, become." The alignment was hours away, and Elias felt the stars pressing down. Today, he decided to face the scream. The diary, written by Eleanor, Amos, Clara, Gideon, and Reginald, had warned of the alignment when the eye of the void would open the gate. The portrait was the lock, the manor the beacon, and Elias the key. The whispers had become a command. Scream with us. He felt it in his blood, a pull toward something vast and terrible. Armed with his lantern, notebook, the black shard from the hidden room, and the star-etched knife. He set out to stop the scream or join it. The morning was spent in the library, its shelves looming like silent judges. The lantern's glow revealed books he'd read until his eyes bled. The Starry Veil, The Call of the Watchers, The Veil's End. He searched for something to stop the alignment. Behind a shelf he found a book, its cover cracked leather, titled The Last Scream. Its pages were brittle, written in a trembling hand. The scream is the gate's voice. The chosen can join it, opening the way, or silence it at great cost. Blood, shard, and starlight are needed. Elias's heart sank. The book described a ritual to silence the scream, using the shard, blood, and a mirror under the aligned stars. He hesitated, the shard pulsing in his pocket. The whispers urged, "Scream! Join! No!" He decided to prepare to silence the scream. He needed to resist Cthar'ul. In the grand hall, the chandelier's crystals glowed red, pulsing like a heart. The portraits watched, their faces shifting. Eleanor's eyes wept, Gideon's grinned, Reginald screamed. Elias spoke to them. "I'll stop it. I won't let it through." The whispers laughed. "You are the scream." He found a mirror in a side room, its frame carved with stars. He set it up in the master bedroom before the portrait. The shard glowed brighter, and the portrait's mouth opened wider, ready to scream. Elias cut his palm with the knife, blood dripping onto the shard. He stood before the mirror, chanting words from the last scream. "By star and shadow I silence you." The mirror rippled, showing a starry void, Cthar'ul's face forming. The whispers roared, "Scream with us." Elias's vision blurred, and he was pulled into the void. He stood on a bridge of black glass, stars screaming above. Cthar'ul loomed, its form shifting, tentacles, eyes, mouths, all at once. It spoke, "Scream, and open the gate." Elias saw visions, worlds burning, seas of light swallowing cities, shadows singing his name. The scream was a force, a wave that could tear the veil. He shouted, "I silence you." The void shook, but the whispers laughed. "You are too weak." He woke on the floor, the shard burning his hand. The mirror cracked. His notebook was open, filled with words he didn't remember writing. "The scream is the gate. I am the key." The portrait stared, its eyes his own. Elias's head throbbed with knowledge, how to tear reality, how to speak to stars, how to end worlds. But the price was his soul. The day passed in a haze of fear and purpose. Elias chopped wood in the yard, the axe heavy, the tree's bark carved with eyes that blinked. He found a stone in the garden, pulsing like the shard. He left it, its warmth too much like the manor's touch. Lunch was an apple, its taste sparking visions of a city under a black sea, its towers alive with shadows. He wrote, "The scream is the manor's voice. The shard is the key." In the afternoon, he returned to the library, reading the last scream again. It warned, to silence the scream, the chosen must give their blood and will. To join it, they give their soul. Elias found a letter in the diary from Reginald. "I joined the scream and it took me. Elias, silence it." His hands shook. He'd already bled too much. At dusk, he stood in the stone circle in the garden, the rocks glowing. The stars above formed the eye of the void, its light piercing his soul. The whispers chanted, "Scream, become." He saw a vision, a throne of stars, Cthar'ul sitting, its tentacles reaching for him. He ran inside, locking the door. At midnight, he tried the ritual again. In the master bedroom before the portrait, he held the shard and chanted, "By star and shadow, I silence you." The mirror glowed, the portrait screamed, and the manor shook. Shadows rose from the floor, cold and grasping. Cthar'ul's voice boomed, "Scream, or be broken." Elias fought, shouting, "I'm Elias Thorne." The shard flared, the mirror shattered, and blood poured from his hand, the portrait drinking it, its paint glowing red. He dreamed that night of the void, standing on a cliff of black stone, stars screaming above. Cthar'ul loomed, its form shifting. It spoke, Scream and be free. Elias saw visions, planets drowning, cities of bone crumbling, shadows singing his name. The scream was a wave, ready to tear the veil. He woke, his skin damp, the smell of salt in the air. The diary was open, new words in his hand. I am the scream. The next day, Elias searched for a way to silence the scream. He found a hidden drawer in the library containing a star chart marked with the alignment tonight. Reginald's notes read, "The scream opens the gate. Elias, use the shard to silence it." He tried burning the shard, but it didn't burn. He threw it into the basement pool, but it floated back, glowing brighter. The whispers laughed. "You are ours." The manor was changing. Doors led to rooms of starry voids. Walls bled black water. He found a new chamber off the hall, its floor a mirror showing him with Cthar'ul's face. He smashed it, but the shards whispered, "Scream, become." Elias wrote, "The scream is the manor's soul. I'm losing." Mrs. Ellis came, her face pale. "You're gone," she said, leaving bread he ignored. Elias nodded. "The stars are screaming." She left, muttering prayers. The alignment was now. The stars screamed, their light flooding the manor. Elias stood in the stone circle. Visions overwhelming. Planets drowning. Cities of light falling. Cthar'ul's eyes everywhere. The diary's words burned. The chosen joins the scream. He faced the portrait, its scream blending with the stars' song. Elias was no longer just a man. He was a thorn, a vessel, a bridge to the last scream, and the gate was opening. Elias's days were a desperate fight to stay human. He woke to frost on the walls, the manor colder than ever. He made fires with wood that burned blue, the smoke-forming eyes that stared. Breakfast was tea and apples, their taste sharp sparking visions of starry seas. He washed dishes, the sinks laughed louder now. "Stop it," he said, but the manor creaked back. Mornings he searched the manor. He found a closet in the hall, filled with star charts and tools, a sextant that pointed to the sky, a compass that spun wildly, a glass orb that glowed. The orb showed a vision, a throne of shadows, Cthar'ul calling. He dropped it, the glow fading. Afternoons he read in the library, books piling high. The last scream described the alignment as a moment when the scream tore the veil, the chosen becoming the gate. Elias found a letter from Eleanor. "I joined the scream, and it took my son. Silence it." His heart raced. He'd come too close. Evenings, he walked the grounds. The stone circle glowed, its rocks warm. He stood in it, seeing visions. A sky of fire, a sea of shadows, Cthar'ul rising. He ran inside, locking the door. Nights were a nightmare. The whispers chanted Cthar'ul's name, their voices in his blood. He dreamed of swimming in the void, stars pulling him down. Cthar'ul spoke. "Scream with me." He woke, his skin damp, his hands shaking. He tried another ritual, using the shard and words from the diary. In the hidden room, he chanted, "By star and shadow, I silence you." The shard glowed, the portrait screamed, shadows rising. The whispers mocked, "You are ours." The ritual failed, leaving him weak. The manor grew stranger. Rooms appeared with floors of glass, walls of stars. One had a mirror showing Elias with tentacles for arms. He smashed it, but the shards sang. He wrote, "The scream is alive. It wants me." Mrs. Ellis's last visit was brief. "You're lost," she said, leaving a pie he ignored. Elias nodded. "I'm fighting the scream." The stars screamed louder, their light piercing the manor. Elias stood by the portrait, the diary open, its words his own. The alignment was now, and he was the bridge, bound to the last scream. Chapter 12, Silence of the Cosmos. Elias Thorne stood in the master bedroom of Thorne Manor, the air crackling with the weight of a universe on the brink. It was December 15th, past midnight, and the alignment of the stars was at its peak, a cosmic crescendo that shook the very foundations of reality. The manor was no longer a house, but a pulsing wound in the fabric of existence, its walls humming with the rhythm of the stars, its shadows writhing like creatures born of nightmare. The portrait of Uncle Reginald, with its starry eyes and screaming mouth, was the gate's heart, but the silence, the terrible, looming silence, was its final voice. Elias was a husk, hair white as frost, skin pale as bone, eyes burning with visions that had shattered his soul. 13 weeks had passed since he arrived to claim his cursed inheritance, and now he stood at the edge of eternity, the last Thorne to face the cosmos. He woke that morning in the guest room, the cold so fierce it felt like claws sinking into his flesh. His dreams had been a plunge into oblivion, a void of black stars, their light weaving into Cthar'ul's vast, shifting form, tentacles coiling across galaxies, mouths chanting his name in a language that tore at his mind. He stood on a bridge of black glass, the void below alive with shadows that screamed, "Open the gate, or be consumed." Elias gasped awake, his breath a faint cloud in the icy air. The manor was a furnace of cosmic energy, its walls vibrating, its shadows reaching for him. The alignment was now, and this was his final stand. He shuffled to the kitchen, his steps heavy, as if the manor's gravity had thickened to hold him. Routine was his last shred of humanity. Boil water, make tea, eat bread from the pantry. But the bread crumbled like ash, and the tea tasted of salt and starlight, sparking visions of worlds drowning in black seas. He washed dishes, the sink gurgling like a throat swallowing his soul. "Leave me be," he whispered, but the manor creaked back, its whispers a deafening roar. Silence. Open. Become. The alignment was here, and Elias felt the stars pressing into his bones. Today, he would face the silence. The diary, written by Eleanor, Amos, Clara, Gideon, and Reginald, had warned of the alignment when the eye of the void would tear open the gate. The portrait was the lock, the manor the beacon, and Elias the key. The whispers had become a command. Silence the scream, or join it. He felt it in his blood, a pull toward something vast and final. Armed with his lantern, notebook, the black shard from the hidden room, and the star-etched knife, he set out to end the curse, or be consumed by it. The morning was spent in the library, its shelves looming like silent judges. The lantern's glow revealed books he'd read until his eyes bled. The starry veil, the last scream, the veil's end. He searched for a way to silence the cosmos. Behind a shelf he found a book, its cover cracked leather, titled The Silence of the Stars. Its pages were brittle, written in a trembling hand. The scream opens the gate, but silence seals it. The chosen can end the call with blood, shard, and starlight, but the cost is their essence. Elias's heart sank. The book described a ritual to silence the scream, using the shard, blood, and a mirror under the aligned stars. He hesitated, the shard pulsing in his pocket like a second heart. The whispers urged, "Silence. Join. No." He decided to prepare, to seal the gate. He needed to resist Cthar'ul. In the grand hall, the chandelier's crystals glowed red, pulsing like a dying star. The portraits watched, their faces shifting. Eleanor's eyes wept. Gideon's grinned. Reginald's screamed. Elias spoke to them. "I'll end it. I won't let it through." The whispers laughed. "You are the silence." He found a mirror in a side room, its frame carved with stars. He set it up in the master bedroom, before the portrait. The shard glowed brighter, and the portrait's mouth opened wider, ready to scream. Elias cut his palm with the knife, blood dripping onto the shard, staining it red. He stood before the mirror, chanting words from The Silence of the Stars. "By star and shadow, I silence you." The mirror rippled, showing a starry void, Cthar'ul's face forming, tentacles, eyes, mouths, all at once. The whispers roared, "Silence us, and lose all." Elias's vision blurred, and he was pulled into the void. He stood on a bridge of black glass, stars screaming above, their light a cacophony of pain. Cthar'ul loomed, its form shifting, too vast to comprehend. It spoke. Silence the scream, and you silence yourself. Elias saw visions, worlds burning, seas of light swallowing cities, shadows singing his name. The scream was a wave, tearing the veil, and the silence was a void swallowing all. He shouted, "I silence you!" The void shook, the stars dimmed, but the whispers laughed. "You are too weak." He woke on the floor, the shard burning his hand, the mirror shattered into 1,000 glinting pieces. His notebook was open, filled with words he didn't remember writing. "The silence is the gate. I am the key." The portrait stared, its eyes his own, its mouth frozen mid-scream. Elias's head throbbed with knowledge, how to tear reality apart, how to speak to the stars, how to end existence itself. But the price was his soul, his humanity, his everything. The day passed in a haze of dread and resolve. Elias chopped wood in the yard, the axe heavy, the tree's bark carved with eyes that blinked in the dim light. He found a stone in the garden, pulsing like the shard, its warmth a siren's call. He left it untouched, fearing its power. Lunch was an apple, its taste sparking visions of a city under a black sea, its towers writhing with shadows. He wrote, "The silence is the manor's heart. The shard is the key." In the afternoon he returned to the library, reading The Silence of the Stars again. It warned, to silence the scream, the chosen must give their blood, their will, their essence. To join it, they give their soul. Elias found a letter in the diary from Reginald. "I tried to silence the scream, but it took me. Elias, you must end it." His hands shook. He'd bled too much, given too much already. At dusk, he stood in the stone circle in the garden, the rocks glowing like embers. The stars above formed the eye of the void, its light piercing his soul. The whispers chanted, "Silence, become." He saw a vision, a throne of stars, Cthar'ul sitting, its tentacles reaching for him, its voice a promise of eternal knowledge. He ran inside, locking the door, but the manor's hum followed him. At midnight, the alignment reached its zenith. Elias stood in the master bedroom, before the portrait, the shard in one hand, the knife in the other. The manor shook, its walls groaning, its shadows swirling like a storm. The chandelier in the hall glowed brighter, its crystals singing a high, piercing note. The portrait screamed, their voices a chorus of agony. Elias chanted, "By star and shadow I silence you." The shard flared, the portrait's scream became a wail, and the manor trembled as if it would collapse. Shadows rose from the floor, cold and grasping, wrapping around his legs. Cthar'ul's voice boomed, "Silence me, and you silence yourself." Elias fought, shouting, "I'm Elias Thorne." He drove the knife into the portrait, the blade sinking into the canvas as if it were flesh. Blood poured from his hand, mixing with the paint, which glowed red, then white, then black. The mirror's shards flew upward, forming a new mirror in the air, showing the void, stars dimming, Cthar'ul's face fading. The whisper screamed, "No." Elias felt his soul unravel, his body lightening as if he were dissolving into starlight. He saw visions, his ancestors standing beside him, Eleanor, Amos, Clara, Gideon, Reginald, all chanting with him, their voices merging with his. The manor was a beacon no more. Its hum slowed, its shadows stilled. The portrait's scream faded, replaced by a silence so deep it was deafening, a void that swallowed sound, light, and life. Cthar'ul's face vanished, its eyes closing, its tentacles retreating into the dark. Elias fell to his knees, the shard crumbling to dust in his hand. The portrait was blank, its canvas empty, its frame cracked. The manor was quiet, the whispers gone. He wrote in his notebook, his hand barely able to grip the pencil. The scream is silent. The gate is closed. I am nothing. His vision blurred, his body fading, as if the silence had taken him too. He dreamed one last time, standing in a void of pure light. No stars, no shadows. His ancestors stood with him, their faces calm. Eleanor spoke. "You did it, Elias. The gate is sealed." Reginald nodded. "The manor is free." But Elias felt empty, his soul a flicker in the silence. He woke, his body still there, but lighter, as if part of him had been left in the void. The manor was different now. The air was still, the walls silent. Elias walked the grounds, the stone circle cold, its rocks dull. The trees were just trees, their bark smooth. He returned to the master bedroom, the portrait gone, the mirror shards swept away. The diary was blank, its pages empty. Mrs. Ellis came, her face soft with relief. "You're back," she said, handing him bread. Elias smiled, weakly. "I'm here." She left, humming a hymn. The stars were quiet that night, their light soft, no longer screaming. Elias stood on the roof, the telescope still. The eye of the void was gone, the alignment passed. He was Elias Thorne, but not the same. A man who had faced the cosmos and silenced its scream. He wrote one last note. "The manor is silent. The stars are still. I am free, but empty." The silence of the cosmos was his victory and his loss. Elias's day was a desperate fight to hold on. He woke to frost on the walls, the manor colder than ever. He made a fire with wood that burned blue, the smoke forming eyes that stared. Breakfast was tea and an apple, its taste sharp, sparking visions of starry voids. He washed dishes, the sinks laughed silent now, but the manor's hum was louder. "I'll end it," he said, and the walls creaked back. Morning was spent in the library searching for final answers. He reread The Silence of the Stars, its words clear. The silence takes all but seals the gate. He found a letter from Eleanor. "I tried to silence the scream, but it took my son. You must finish it." His heart raced. He was the last. Afternoon brought him to the grand hall, the chandelier's crystals blazing. He collected them, each sparking a vision, a city of glass crumbling, a sea of shadows fading, Cthar'ul retreating. He wrote, "The crystals hold the scream's echo." Evening took him to the stone circle, its rocks pulsing. He stood in it, seeing visions. A sky, a fire dimming, a sea of stars calming, Cthar'ul's eyes closing. He ran inside, the manor shaking. Night was the end. The alignment's peak brought screams from every corner, portraits, walls, stars. Elias stood before the portrait chanting, "By star and shadow, I silence you." The shard burned, the knife cut, the mirror broke. The silence came, vast and final, swallowing Cthar'ul's scream. The manor stilled. Elias was free but hollow, a man who had faced the cosmos and paid its price. The silence was his, and it was everything.